Yeah, Prophet Marshall Occurrence. So, this video is going to be about coming above the Americans to fight international spiritual warfare. Coming above the Americans and all that they doing, all the surveillance, all the gang stalking, all the circus, the clowns out there. Coming above all of that to fight international spiritual warfare. We're no longer talking about what black people doing, their culture no more. We're not talking about what the Americans are doing and their culture no more. This is a new clean transmission into a new day where we talk nothing about, mostly nothing but about God and His kingdom, the Word of God, and this war that's going on. That's what we talking about. Okay, because we gotta clean up the clowns. Just like when you win, and you got your workspace at work. Once the shift is over, you clean up your workspace and move on. We done cleaned up our shift. Because now there's escalation. So we ain't talking about no Americans really no more. They worms. The ones that's against us are worms in this war. Okay? They're worms in this war. That's all there is to it. They're worms compared to what's going on. So with that being said, we're not focused on them any longer. We're focused on these wars that's escalating because really, this is now our finest moment where we can get these people out of here. We can get them out of here. And that's what you need to pay attention to this morning, this afternoon. We can get them out of here. We're closer to it than ever before. With these, all we need is for these wars to escalate a little more. And North Korea comes into the war. If once North Korea comes into this and they got nuclear weapons and everything, it's over with. And they already warned, if any of their citizens are harmed in Iran, which most likely that probably is going to happen. Once that happens, it's over. They already said it. They already said they're going to enter into the war if any of their citizens in Iran are hurt. So that's most likely going to happen. Because the Americans are already threatening of bigger operations. So the odds are, some North Koreans over there, it's at least what I would say, roughly about 5,000 to 10,000 North Koreans over there, something like that. Okay, so then something gonna happen, and when it does, he probably already know it is, but he gonna have a legitimate reason. That's his legitimate reason, and he knows it's gonna happen. And I stand with North Korea, Iran, China, Russia, and Lebanon. Those are my 5 alliances for World War III. I already been saying this before it even came to it, because the prophet is always going to be ahead of everybody. My alliances is 5 alliances: Russia, China, North Korea, Lebanon, and Russia, China, North Korea, Iran, and Lebanon. Okay, so I was already with Iran before all this stuff happened. I was already, at I was already at, with Iran. I was already with Iran, man. So, do I know how the leader was? Was I really with the leader? No, I just stood back and just observed from a distance. But I just stayed where my heart was in alliance with the Iranian people, which is not just the government, the whole community. So when I say alliance, that's not just the government, that's the whole nation of Russia, China, North Korea, Iran, and Lebanon. So I had already chose my sides, like 2 years ago? About 2 years ago. I had already chose my alliance. So you can go back and look at my videos. I had already chose those 5 alliances about 2 years ago for World War III. So we're just, at this point, we're just waiting for the escalation. That's all we're waiting for. We're not trying to make it work out, trying to figure out how it can work out. You know, we're just all about the escalation, the demolition, escalation. Escalation, demolition. That's our operation, right? Operation, escalation, demolition. That's our operation. It's called escalation, demolition. Escalation, demolition. It's all about escalation. All about escalation. That's what we all about. We ain't trying to fix nothing. We ain't trying to work nothing out. We're gonna get these roaches over here, and we gonna make them open their mouth in surprise and see that all for you. This is all about you. You wanted the big spotlight, and now you got it, little buddy. And that's what you're gonna get. We're gonna do all this for you. Cause long as you 18, we don't feel you a child. And some of these crippled like people and retarded like people will act like they're children. You're not a child. You're a grown man. You're a grown woman once you're 18. And that means, you know, you're fair game, buddy. You're fair game. Long as you're 18, you're fair game to us in every situation. So that goes for anybody that's here in America that think because you're young you can't die. We don't look at it that way. You know, once you're 18, you are fair game in any situation. So we don't care nothing about you being young. If you're so young, you should have been somewhere playing video games. You should have been doing what young people do. You shouldn't have played with grown men like me. Yeah, okay, because I'm not a child. So when you was playing with me, that's when you enter into a grown man's world. That's the bottom line. And being that you're over 18, we have no compassion. So save the act, save the tap dancing and the act like just because you young, you think you're going to survive. You're not. That's why we escalating all of this against these people. That's what we doing. So this is Operation Escalation Demolition. Literally. No, I'm serious. This is Operation, I'm going with it. That's what it is. Operation Escalation Demolition. Because it's all about escalating in like demolition. Just tearing everything down, you know, taking no precaution, just tearing it all down, buddy. Just tearing it all down. This is Operation Demolition. Okay, I told these people, man. So we coming above America now to focus this is how we come above America in spiritual warfare, because now we're fasting for escalation in the Middle East. We're fasting for it. We're fasting for that to go wrong. We're fasting for that to get tore up. We're fasting for destruction. Okay, this is war, and this is what it consists of. We're fasting for escalation to just destroy all of that over there in the Middle East, and for people to come looking for America. That's what we want. We want these people to come looking for these people. They call themselves Americans. We want them to come looking for them, sparing none, not sparing black people, not sparing nobody, not sparing no minorities, not sparing no one. This is what level we on. See, I don't live in a gay world. I don't live in no happy cartoon, hip hop, rock and roll world. I'm in warfare. I'm in warfare. You don't surround me and play with me and think we can't get you. And we making sure you understand. It's bigger than you now. It's worse. It's way worse than you're presenting it. It's all about escalation, international escalation. That's all we about right now. We ain't even talking about America, what we doing here in America. We focusing all our attention, better to say, we're focusing all our spiritual weapons on escalation in the Middle East and these wars abroad. You know, they just also America invaded Ecuador, talking about drug dealers. Haven't seen them so zealous about drug dealers since the Reagan era. I ain't seen them so zealous about drug dealers since Ronald Reagan. Talking about war on drugs. But it's other things in mind, man. That's why, you know, you always understand that smart people do something for more than one reason. Okay, read between the lines. That just give them cause to go in, you know what I'm saying, and blind the people. But it's another reason, and we'll see what it is, because they took oil from Venezuela, right? Okay, so we're gonna see what they take from Ecuador. That's how we're gonna figure it out. That's how we're gonna figure out what the other reason is, what they take from them, because that's how they operating right now. Okay, so you know, we just at this point, we want divine escalation from God to just escalate these wars, escalate wars here in America. With only way we looking at it here in America is that their enemies attack them and attack them abroad, everywhere they at. I'm not inciting it. You know, we praying for God for it to happen. We praying that God make it happen to these people. We praying and we fasting and we're giving offerings that there's just escalation here in this country. There's escalation in the Middle East. There's escalation just everywhere, and that just everybody will be against these Americans. That's what we're asking for right now. That's what we want done. We want total escalation. We want escalation to progress to the point where it's like demolition against all these people that went against us, including these lay members, these people that act like, well, they're just a nobody. We don't. You should have did what nobodies do. You should have went somewhere in the corner and stayed by yourself somewhere in the corner. You came out here in the field. Now you're getting the war you want, buddy. That's how it is. You know, I told these suckers that you know, playing with me, I don't play in the psychological world. I play in the real world. I put my war in the real world, buddy. While your war is limited to a psychological game. You know what I'm saying? I tried to make this distinguished difference, that so these are people here in America could understand clearly that my war don't consist of no psychological games. My war consists of the real world, affecting the real world by spiritual weapons, by spiritual means. We doing all of this about spiritual means. We ain't using no psychological games. Everything we do is by spiritual means, but it affects the physical world. Okay? We don't play psychological games. It doesn't do anything. Nothing happens. That's why I have no interest in any type of even pondering of psychological games. We're all about real manifestations in the real world. That's what we're about. We told these people they was clowns from day one, and you see it. Now you see it. That's clowns from day one. You know what I'm saying? And it ain't changed today. As of February 5th, 2026, it has not changed today. I mean, March 5th, 2026, it hasn't changed today. They are clowns. And we're going to leave clowns in the circus. While we as big boys, we handle real war, we fight real war. And we ready to get on the road, as I put it, with arms when the time comes, when the law ends and anarchy starts, we gonna pick up arms and go to war. Okay, we not like these people at all. These are people that gonna be enslaved and put in the dirt like worms, like they should be. We gonna put them in the dirt like worms. I'm not your plaything by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not your plaything. So that's why all the psychological games, this is what happened to you. We started real wars in the real world by spiritual means. We did it with spirituality. Ain't no homosexuality in here. You know, we don't care the games they play out there in this building no more. using the microwave for psychological games, it doesn't even work. Okay, so obviously they playing psychological games. You know, it's just too easy to figure out. You know, those are worms. We call those worms. What we're focused on is, I guess you could say, the bigger picture. We're in the Middle East mentally, spiritually, where we want escalation in the Middle East. That's what we want. We want escalation over there. And fasting is what's going to do it. Giving offerings is what's going to do it. See, we got the formula. We got it going on. We got the formula. So now all we got to do is focus on this formula. All we got to do is focus on fasting and giving offerings and doing that all around the world. That's all we got to do. And when I say all around the world, I'm talking about literally all around the world. We start giving offerings all around the world. Like right now, I'm in, as far as giving offerings, I'm waiting for Beirut to deliver my mail to Babda in Lebanon. But the war is going on in Beirut. So this is how deep the prophet is in the war. I got an offering right now over there in the war right now. I didn't even try to do that. That wasn't even on purpose. I sent the war over there in Babda, to Babda, and it has to go to Beirut. So in order for it to go to Babda, it has to go through Beirut, where the war is going on. So I'm just praying that the offering gets there. Just pray for the offering to get there without any delays. Maybe there'll be more. It arrived in Lebanon yesterday. You know, it might have to pass through Paris. My offering went through Paris, and now officially 12 o'clock yesterday. It was in Beirut. Okay. So I'm focused on like the next 5 days. It's gonna get to Babda, you know, and once that happens, that's gonna be $16 million. So that's what's gonna cause the escalation. So that's why it's such a sensitive situation, and Satan is trying to attack over there in Lebanon, because once that offering hits over there, it's over. You know what I'm saying? It's absolutely over. You know, that's $16 million. And mind you, I already sent $4 million. I already sent $4 million. $4 million has already went over there in Lebanon, where they're going to war right now. They're going to war right now. Hey, yo, that microwave doesn't work. So we're getting the escalation going on. The escalation is going on. Okay. Like I said, $4 million is already over there. That's why this happened. That's why this happened. The escalation is already going on. It's already here. After I sent that $4 million to the Middle East, I really had no intentions of escalation over there, because it really wasn't nothing going on at the time. In fact, there was no warships over there. There was no warships. There was only nothing. I mean, what tension was going on? What was going on? Israel with their little stuff, whatever they got, that little stuff they was doing before this happened. And then after that $4 million, the warships from America came in. This is how I'm trying to show you the art of escalation. The art of escalation is we're just trying to escalate this as much as possible. That's what we trying to do. We ain't crazy. You know what I'm saying? Most of us that's been in this war has been in this war for like years, just like the Ukrainians and the Russians. We've been through this for years. I knew from the beginning, right here in America, America started World War III. If you want to know how, gang stalking Christians. Gang stalking Christians started World War III. And you can't talk to a patriot American Christian because they praying for Trump and they praying for the government. You can't see where we at. You got the American Christians that's praying for the government and Trump. That's not what we on, man. That's not what we on, because we realize they have been gang stalking Christians the whole time. Okay, so whether Trump, I know he knows about it. Trump knows all about this. So we ain't praying for Trump. We ain't praying for the government. They try to exclude us from Christianity as if they taking care of us and they're still Christians. That's how arrogant they are. They acting like they still Christians. Nah, you not. You once you went against God's people and you play with a prophet, that was it. You play with the head of the pack. You play with the prophet, that's the head of the pack. Once you play with me, that was it. Arrivederci. I told you. And how you know this isn't your normal prediction? Because it's Iran. Iran is going to have invisible enemies for the next however long the world lasts until the end of the world, right? They're going to have invisible enemies against America to the end of the world. It's never going to stop. They're never going to let that go, that you killed their leader. They ain't going to let that go. It's not. Israel and America going to have invisible enemies, because terrorism is invisible enemies. You can't really predict it unless they incriminate themselves on the internet. If they don't incriminate themselves on the internet, good luck trying to find out a random person and what they gonna do. You ain't gonna figure that out. You ain't gonna figure out what they do. How? How you gonna figure out what they do? And so that's why the situation is the way it is, where we know for sure this is basically escalation against America for the rest of the world. Okay? It's escalation to the end of the world. And it's not going to change. It's not going to change. And how we know there will be random terrorists attacking America until the end of the world. This is not, for most people, the only thing that's got you charmed is what America is doing all around the world in other places like South America. That's what's making you think this situation is just business as usual. Like what they did in Venezuela, like what they're doing in Ecuador. That's making you think it's business as usual, but it's not. It's not business as usual. And because it's Iran, that's why. Only worse than Iran would be North Korea. And they already threatened to come into this war. They already threatened to come into this war. And so, with that being said, the war is escalating, man. This is already a new day, a new era already. Whether you accept it or not, whether you maybe you are not 10 steps ahead, but this is already a new era because of them killing the leader of Iran specifically. All that stuff in the South America, that wouldn't provoke a new era. You know what I'm saying? You know, but this war over here in Iran, that's a new era right there. A new era of terrorism. It ain't nothing you can do about it. There's nothing you can do about it. They're gonna attack America in invisible ways that you can't see with the naked eye. which means these people gonna move into to public America and start attacking. They are. I'm pretty sure there's Iranians here right now that want to do something, but they're just trying to figure out what to do and how to do it. They're gonna beef up security at these certain landmarks, but some people might just do like they do back east, is just start attacking grocery stores, start attacking malls and little stores and stuff like that. Just random stuff, but down in Times Square, all down there, they gonna beef up all that security because of the dense population, the dense traffic down there. They gonna beef up all of that security over there. So what they probably gonna do is just come out into New York, if they're smart, and just randomly hit grocery stores and all different places, just randomly. Places where they wouldn't even think about, just random everyday places, random everyday grocery stores in different areas that's a little below the caliber of like landmarks. There's some places in New York City that's just, because it's New York City, they got calibers of landmarks. And you got calibers of landmarks that's a little lower than Times Square. Most terrorists ain't gonna be able to successfully hit Times Square, not really, or Port Authority. But they gonna look at the major landmarks. But people that live here from Iran, they gonna realize, okay, I'm gonna just hit a caliber lower than just what they expect, just a little bit lower than that. And that's gonna be the sweet spot, is the caliber a little bit lower than places like Times Square, things like that, Brooklyn Bridge, et cetera, et cetera. If you go a little bit lower, in New York, you got all kind of little landmarks that's a little lower than Times Square, so to speak. And if they're smart, that's what they're gonna hit. But ultimately, man, it's just inevitable. Besides New York City, besides here in New York State, they're gonna hit all kind of places, nooks and crannies even. It's just a matter of time. It's not gonna stop. That right there is the escalation to the end of the world. That's not gonna stop. And what I base that off of is not just the Iranian government, those who support Iran, those who support the Iranian people. That's what's gonna keep this going to the end of the world. That's what's gonna keep it going to the end of the world. You know what I'm saying? And that ain't even, I'm not saying that as prophecy or even spiritually. That's just an educated guess based on a lot of things, a lot of dynamics, like how these terrorist people move, how they carry themselves, how they do not give up, and they pass on their hate from generation to generation. It's just not gonna stop. In fact, most Islamic communities is gonna be on Iran's side. They're not gonna be on America, or how they tried to act like all these people are so happy that the leader was killed. Those are the people over here in America. That's, so what? They're no threat. You got to worry about Iran, how they feel about it. And if you go by that little propaganda that they give you on TV, where they show you a patch of Iranians chanting around, look at these other crowds of people talking about death to America. Look at those crowds. Those crowds, I seen a crowd in Iran that had to be over about 30,000 people. It had to be about 30 to 50,000 people chanting death to America, right? How in the world you gonna stop them? How you gonna stop that? See, they ain't gonna show you that. America ain't gonna show you. I ain't seen it in the news medias at all, where these people are chanting death to America for killing the leader. So everybody's not happy about that. That's what they want you to think. You gotta go. That's why I don't look at one news outlet. I don't just look at CNN and that's it. Or Fox News and that's it. I go to these international news medias and everything like that, because they gonna show you really what's going on without being biased towards America. You know, America gonna show you people that love that this happened. So it'll seem like it was a good thing. That's their main thing, is they want it to seem like it's a good thing. It's not a good thing. It's not a good thing. You know, how else can you put it? You know, some people is off limits. Some people can't be played with. I mean, Iran is one of those countries, man. You know, they're not scared of the Americans. They're definitely not scared of the Americans. That's the main thing. You got to understand, they're not afraid of the Americans. They're still not afraid of the Americans right now. They're not afraid of them. And they're attacking. And if you ain't up to date past that first initial attack from America and Israel, they are attacking back. They're dropping bombs. How else can I put it? They're dropping bombs right now. You know what I mean? So we got an offering out in Lebanon, in Beirut, if I'm saying that right. And I sent one out there already for $4 million. That should already be there. And see, that was at least, I would say, I think that was January the 27th. Yeah, that was January 27th, I think. Yeah. That was January 27th. Oh, or, yeah. Yeah, that was January 27th. About a month ago, so you know it's there. You see all this stuff happen a month later, exactly a month later, you put it together. I said $4 million. A month before all this war happened. See, I'm putting it together. Why I'm taking my time, because I'm putting it together right now. This part I didn't put together. I'm just thinking through it right now. Yeah, because I definitely sent the money the 27th. And then the 28th of February, war started. So, safe to say, a month later, that money definitely was there. They've already received the first $4 million. So that first $4 million was probably there roughly about 9 to 8 days, about a week to 9 days before America attacked Iran. That $4 million. I'm trying to show you how this is working, because I can get this done. I can get this done if people would have taken me seriously. That's my only frustration in the past. I could have been got this done. I'm a spiritual assassin. I could have been got this done. I know exactly what I'm doing. And I could have been got this done long time ago. But people sat back and watched me like the rest of these people. I could have been got this done. This is long overdue. For all the gang stalking, all the games they play, this is long overdue. I could have been got this done. I could have been got it done. And all it takes is a little more support, and I could have got this, especially now, you know, a couple 10K, 50K, man, this is over. 50K, 10K, man, that's for most Americans, that's nothing. Somebody spending 50K on clothes right now. On clothes, and they ain't even gonna hurt or want for nothing after spending 50K. But this is how life is. The person that can really get it done, he has no support. Don't that seem like real life? That's real life. The one that can finish it all, it's not God's fault. It's just how the vibration of the people are. It's how greedy and blind the people are, that the person that really can get this done is the one that's not supported. That's life to me. That's how I look at it. It's life. I could have been got this done. I said $4 million to, I want people to see this is war. This is spiritual war. This is international spiritual war. And I'm not talking about international things without doing things internationally. I sent money to Lebanon a month before the attack. I'm just now realizing that. I didn't think about this part. I just knew I sent it over there, and I wasn't sure whether it really kind of got there or not, because there's so much delay. But after a month, that's got to be, because they usually say about 6 to 21 days. So definitely, that got to be there. That's the first money I sent. That was $4 million when they converted to Lebanese currency. That's going to be $4 million. They can't use USD. They got to convert it. And when they convert it, they ain't going to convert half of it. They're going to convert all of it. And when they convert all of it, it's going to be $4 million. Okay? So that's the facts. That's the facts. So I sent, with that being said, I've sent $4 million to Lebanon a month before this happened. And then a month later, here you go. You see this stuff happening. So, it's what it is. It's what it is. And we got more money on the way. It's already over there in Lebanon. So just prepare. This is the second round. This is the second round. And we're doing good already. Because like I said, it was nothing even escalating in the Middle East for me to send money to the Middle East. I honestly did it because of the value of USD in Lebanon. It's the highest value. So you put it together, it's a no-brainer. The country that put the highest value on the USD is Lebanon. They put the highest value on USD, which means you get more for your money in Lebanon more than anywhere else in the world. So you put two and two together. I was already with Lebanon in alliance for World War III, and I find that they complement the USD more than any other country in the entire world. So that's why I sent it. It wasn't because I was even initially trying to escalate anything in the Middle East. That wasn't even the initial objective. It was just a no-brainer. If I could get more for my money over there in Lebanon, then why wouldn't I do that? So that's literally what it was all about. And then the war popped off over there. That was before the warships. There was no warships over there. Because if it was warships, I would have been kind of cautious about kind of sending it over there, because I don't know if it would have got over there. So it was nothing going on. I'm sure about that. I'm definitely sure. I know I sent it in January. In January, there was nothing going on. They ain't had no warships over there. That started around February. So that's how I'm sure about it. So, like I said, that's $4 million. Another 16 million, that's four times more. I've sent 16 million. When they convert it to Lebanese currency, they still gonna get $16 million. Or late 15 million. Okay, so late 15 million to $16 million. That's what they're gonna get over there. And that's going to, hopefully, if everything works out, that's going to cause the ultimate escalation where North Korea comes into it and Russia and China comes into this war. That's all we're looking for, is those three state countries to come to join this war, because it's only right. I mean, I despise bullies. You know what I'm saying? I despise people that. I'm not a bully. I'm a masculine, stand up guy, but I don't bully anyone. I don't bully nobody. Nobody can't say I just bully people. I don't think like a bully, but I'm an aggressive man. I'm a masculine man. I stand up for myself. But I despise bullies. I can't stand bullies. I never did. I never liked bullies, and I never had friends for bullies at school. I never liked bullies. Okay, so let's get that understood. So I'm not a bully at all. Okay, but I'm a stand-up guy. You know what I'm saying? And that's the difference. I'm a stand-up guy. So that's just all it is. That's all it is. It's a difference between a stand-up guy and a bully. I'm just a stand-up guy. You know, but what we're hoping, it's like I said, China, Russia, Lebanon, those three, China, Russia, North Korea, those three will join the war, because it's only right, because Israel and America are bullies against Iran. You know, they're joining together, so why can't nobody join Iran? That's only right. It's America and Iran, right? And I just despise it, man. I just despise this teaming up. I'm old school. I'm all about the one-on-one, the mano a mano, mano a mano. You know, I'm all about that. Cause it's honoring that, it's respecting that, it's logic in that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if you got more than one nation against Iran, that's not fair. You know, it's not a fair fight. So if they don't care about a fair fight, why should we care about a fair fight? That's what I'm saying. If they don't care about a fair fight, why should we? They don't care about a fair fight. They just trying to kill the people. And that's the new era we living in. The fair fight time is over. And that's even with witchcraft. Look at all the people they used against me. They don't care. They don't honor mano a mano, one-on-one. They don't care about that. That's what I'm saying. You live in a time now where people jump people and everything. They don't fight physical fights one-on-one, mano a mano, man to man, woman to woman. People jump people, and they think they won, or they don't even care as long as the person is defeated. You got them type of people. They just care. All they care about is beating the person up. They don't care if really they couldn't face that person. One of those people in the group could not face that person one-on-one. They don't care about that aspect. And that's grown men and women. That's grown people. America and Israel is not looking at it like, well, is it a fair fight? They don't care. They're just trying to do whatever they can to destroy these people, whether it's fair or not. And so, why shouldn't the other side look at it? Like Russia should look at it like that. You know, America and Israel obviously don't care if it's a fair fight. It's not mano a mano. It's not man to man. So then all they want to do is just kill this community. That's all they want to do. So with that being said, this is how I look at it. We shouldn't care about mano a mano anymore. We shouldn't care about no one-on-one doing what we feel is old school honorable. You know, that's out the door. That they don't care. What it is in this whole world is people just want to kill. And they don't care how many people they gotta use to kill you. They don't care how many people they gotta use to kill me. They ain't looking at it like, oh, it's not a fair fight, so we really don't win anyway. They don't care about that aspect. They just want you destroyed. They just want me and you destroyed. So, okay, so then we're gonna do what we gotta do to destroy them. That's how we look at it. I'm gonna just do what I gotta do to destroy those who try to. I'm gonna apply the full pressure, which is the kingdom of God. I'm gonna put all the angels of God against America. I'm gonna put all the kingdom of God against America. And we not looking at it like, oh well, it's not fair because it's God's kingdom. Well, you use all these people against me. So that's how God gonna look at it. We ain't talk about no fair fights no more. It's no bars hard. It's no holds barred. You ever heard that in sports, in wrestling? No holds barred. Which means there's no holds or any styles with wrestling and fighting that you can do that's barred. That's banished or illegal, for a lack of a better word at the time. They haven't banned it. Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. There's no holds barred. There's no holds banned, you know? And that's the world you really live in. No holds barred. They don't care that they're putting images of children across your mind. They don't care how filthy that is. They don't care if people think they're pedophiles. And for doing that to us, they're just putting all kind of stuff in your head, around your head. Look at it for what it is. What that tells you, that it's no holds barred mentality, which means they're trying to destroy people by any means necessary, the Americans and people that's with these people. They don't care what it looks like. They don't care what it is. As long as you're destroyed, that's what they care about. So then we take the same aspect. We don't care. Long as they destroy, we don't care. Which means as many countries that can join this war on the Iran side to apply the pressure against the Americans and the Iranians, against the Americans and Israel, that's what should happen. That's what should happen. You know, that's only fair. One more country joining Iran, that's technically only fair, which it looks like it's gonna be North Korea. You know, I got major love for Russia, but Russia is, how do I put this? Russia has a pressure to remain completely professional because they're so close to being just like America that they have to remain classy and prestige in order to be a leadership model over America that we can reference, that we can pick instead of America. If they do anything barbaric, then it lowers them. If they fight on our level, then it lowers them because they need to be the model for the new era of a community that people could say, well, we trust the Russians enough to be just like America in the world. So I understand that they can't really move like Iran or move. That's a perfect example. Russia can't really move like Iran because they're set up to be the model country for the whole entire world. So with that much pressure, and they know they're right there, you know, they have to use good political sense in every sense of the word and on every issue. And so I get it now. I get it now. At first I didn't really, but I get it now, you know. But so then we have to go a little bit below who could, like with China, North Korea, even though, you know, listen, I support them, they're 100, but I would look for Russia to lead the world. I would look for North Korea to lead the world militarily speaking. Militarily speaking, I would go with North Korea. Everybody plays their position. North Korea leads the world militarily speaking because they have no tolerance of the Americans like the Russians do, like the Chinese do. See, the Chinese and the Russians are politicking constantly with the enemy. North Korea do not politic with the Americans, if you notice. But the Russians, through politicking with Trump and China constantly politicking about the economy, politics, those two countries, you know, they're up there where they have to play chess on different levels. And the only people that can be the henchmen in this situation is North Korea. North Korea is the one that can play the henchman and play that position, because they don't got no love for America like that. They don't really got no love for America, and they ain't gonna play no games. You know, so we really need North Korea to play this position, man, because I have more confidence in North Korea as far as entering this war against Israel and America. I have more confidence in North Korea than any other country in the world. Russia is not going to enter into this war. They're not going to do it. China might, from my understanding, if something pop off with Taiwan, they might. And, you know, for America defending Taiwan and that kind of thing going on, that could start an escalation. But I don't see China entering into this war either, because they gotta play, you know, they play these big boy politics. That's how I put it. Russia and China plays, I've observed them since I've chosen them for alliance. They play big boy politics. If you pay attention, they may look like a huge threat, and militarily speaking, they both are. But what prevents that from really being a threat is their politics. You know, people know Russia's going to play politics. No, China's going to play politics. North Korea is not going to play politics. And that's what makes you a threat to the United States of America. You can't play back and forth politics with these people, because it's all Jedi mind tricks anyway. It's all Jedi mind tricks. So you can't play politics with America. It's chess moves. And they're gonna get the lion's share in any situation. So you know, playing politics with them, just like, for example, you know, Russia is at war with Ukraine right now. Okay, for me, if I was the leader, and this is not just being a bad boy or a street wisdom intellect or street intuition or whatever, I wouldn't have anything to do with politicking with America, being that they armed the Ukrainians. That's the main reason. I'm not going to talk to nobody that armed my enemy, and it's their weapons that killed my community, my Russian community. No, that's it. And they've kind of voiced that in so many words, but not, I mean, you know, they haven't really made that a principle in this situation. The principle is, you arm my enemies, we don't have any conversation. That's it. Case closed. And that's not illogical. That's within reason of logic. If you arm my enemy, why would I politic with you as Russians? Why would I politic with the Americans as Russians, and you are vicariously fighting me through the Ukrainians? You see what I'm saying? It's not going to happen. If it was me, I wouldn't be talking to America at all. I'm bitter because you helped them. You helped the Ukrainians. That's it. That's all. I'm gonna stand with my people. I'm not going politic with you. But see, people say, you know, Russia like Trump, you know, because of it's all because of his stand-up strong persona. That's what it really is. His politics are really not that good. Men are going to admire a strong stand-up person, even if they're considered a jerk, you know. So I think that's kind of what's going on with that kind of bromance between Russia and Trump. You know, that's kind of what's going on. But you know, people are getting intolerant. You know what I'm saying? They're voicing their opinions on how America's just going all around the world. You know, they just, like Ecuador, for example. That's going on. You can see the escalation. Trump is starting World War III. His administration, however you want to look at it, they started World War III. That's basically it. Okay, boom. they started World War III. Okay, you can kind of see it. I mean, it's all for World War III to happen. The main players need to be, I say two. All it needs to be is Europe and the Middle East, and that's already there. I mean, South America ain't gonna start World War III. Africa is not gonna really start World War III. Australia, let's go through the list. Australia, Canada, and Taiwan is not gonna start World War III. It's gonna be Europe and the Middle East in the Third World War, and it's already going on. That's all it takes to start World War III. You got Russia and Ukraine. All it takes is for something to flare up there, and people choose sides. That's what happens in World War. People choose sides, and there's two huge sides with multiple countries on this side and multiple countries on that side, and that's World War III basically. It's two huge sides of countries that join on one side or the other, and it's made clear because there's going to be superpowers that influence you to go either on one side or the other, and those superpowers are going to influence you on one side or the other. You ain't going to choose no third party if you're a decent country. Psychologically, you're just going to be influenced to choose one of these sides anyway. Even if you want to be a third party kind of mentality, you still going to choose between the two, because these superpowers are going to just be so charming and influencing. You're going to choose between one side or the other. So that's, as you can see, there's sides gathering, starting out with America and Israel. That's a foundation on that side. Iran is waiting for people to join their side. So the war is going to be basically America against Iran. That's the World War III, basically. Whoever gathers on Iran's side and America's side, that's going to be what consists of the whole war of World War III. All we're waiting for now is people to make decisions on what they believe and what they feel based on the ethics of this situation. That's all we're waiting for. For people to come in and look at the ethics and say, well, I go with Iran, because that just was wrong how they came over here. Then they're going to look at, I hate to say it, but they're going to look at the other stuff that America's doing too. Like down in South America, blowing up boats and evading Venezuela, threats against Colombia, now in Ecuador. And, people are just going to let that influence their decision to side with Iran. And being that they killed the leader, killed him without capturing him. Why didn't they capture him? Because they didn't have the balls to go in on ground level. You know what I'm saying? Like they did in Venezuela. That's what they did in Venezuela. They didn't have the guts to do that. So they just had to drop bombs. A coward can drop bombs. Any coward can drop bombs and do drones. I mean, but you see, they know who to try. They went to Venezuela on ground level. They ain't gonna go to Iran on ground level initially until they soften up. You could say it's a strategy, but it's realizing how strong Iran is. They ain't gonna go into Iran on ground level. Not initially. They gotta soften the territory. They gotta soften the country down. They gotta soften targets. They gotta install psychological fear in the people. They gotta break down the morale of the people. So them defeating the leader of Iran just broke down the morale of a lot of people, the confidence. See, that's psychological war too. You got to realize that they killed him for more than one reason. That just breaks down the morale of a lot of people. They get a lot of the soft people out the way, the haphazard people. You know what I'm saying? Killing the leader, that breaks down a lot of people's will. You know what I'm saying? To be against America or to be against Israel even. But all they need is for a superpower to come in and encourage them and empower them, like, North Korea. That's what they're really waiting for. Somebody to choose because it's only right. Because they just need somebody to choose their side. I would say based off the fact that America got Israel with them. They say Israel was going to attack first, and that's why America came in to help. That's how they put it. Now, Israel been planning on attacking Iran's leader. They've been planning on killing him. So they've been thinking about it. They've been conspiring to do it. It's been an ongoing thing. Now we find out. But, it's just understanding this, man. It's just understanding this. It's only right for Iran to choose to have a second party on their side, whether you agree with it or not. Because my idea is this, man. They talking about Iran can never have nuclear weapons. They've been playing with these people for years while they have nuclear weapons. My thing is based on technicality. Based on the technicality. I feel like you just gotta let people you gotta let other people have nuclear weapons. Who are you to say they can't? When you got nuclear weapons, America got nuclear weapons, and that's that. That's all we got to talk about. That's all we looking at. Now, if you didn't have nuclear weapons, okay, then you could say, we're not even doing that, but you are doing that. You do have nuclear weapons. And so, who are you to tell men? This is why I question these white Americans, because they treat other ethnicities like they're not competent enough to make their own decisions. That's racism to me in another country, is the white Americans going over there acting like, these people are not competent enough to make their own decisions. If you got nuclear weapons, who am I to drag you along for decades talking about you can't have nuclear weapons? I feel them. I look at it as my logic would have been, as the Iranians, is I'm just upgrading to what everybody else got. You look at it like I'm just getting the weapons to bomb you, but the truth is I just want to upgrade to the 21st, to the modern day world, to the 20th century, to the 19th, 20th century. But you want me left behind because you think I'm a threat. That's what it is. Look at it for what it is, man. They want America. They want Iran left behind. They want to disfuse them as a threat. Because how we know, even with the changing of the leadership, they still talking about Iran can never have weapons. Well, once they change leadership, why can't they, and they got reasonable good leadership, why can't they have nuclear weapons then? They said never. That shows you the level of control. If I change your leadership, which they already have, why can't that leadership be more reasonable not to use? Who are you to say they won't be more reasonable to not use nuclear weapons or think to use nuclear weapons against America? You can't say no, a country can never have nuclear weapons, because you don't know how they'll change. You don't know how the people will change, especially with America helping or being perceived as helping the Iranians. This shows you the control. It's a type of control, bro. Because if I kill your leaders and I tell you now you can never have nuclear weapons, right? To me, that's control. That's because that leadership is gone. The ones that would have used nuclear weapons against you is gone. So who am I to say the next man won't be the complete opposite? Or down the line, Iranians will change. I can't indefinitely ban you to never have nuclear weapons. No one can do that. And see, that's been always Iranians' problem is with America is, who are you to tell me I can't have nuclear weapons and you got them? That's the logic behind everything going on here. Now, for me as a black man, I'm going to side with non-white people, and usually in a situation. I'm going to read between the lines to see the logic of a non-white man's logic. I'm going to look at his logic. You're an Arab man, and these white Americans are telling you, you can't have no nuclear weapons. See, the black man, meaning the low-level black man, never joins the non-white international community. To where you start looking at it this community that's non-white as your brothers and sisters that's mistreated by white Americans. The Iranian people, the Arab people, even the Asian people, the Indians, all of them, man, they're not esteemed by white supremacists as brothers and sisters. They never have been. So with that being said, a black man like me, I began to look at it like those are non-white people. I'm going to look at his logic, how he see it. And basically, man, Iran feels like they have the right to arm themselves with nuclear weapons. I feel them on that. I mean, I can say I'm doing it to protect myself from you. You got nuclear weapons. I want them too. I don't trust your country. So you think it's just one track minded where they just want the bombs to blow up America? I don't feel that. I don't feel that way. I feel that's the narrative that America is telling everybody else, but I feel it's for multiple reasons. It's for multiple reasons. They want to defend themselves. That's number one. They want to be up to date with the rest of the world. North Korea got nuclear bombs. China got nuclear bombs. Russia got nuclear bombs. America got nuclear bombs. All they want to do is keep up with the world. That too. Think about it. You want to keep up with the world. So then, it's not, see how they'll paint it for their own purpose is that we got to disarm these people because they want to blow us up. But the truth is you don't want one more country to have nuclear bombs in the Middle East besides Israel, right? I don't know if they do. I guess they do. But you definitely don't want people in the Middle East to have weapons that you perceive as your enemies. You don't want them to have nuclear weapons. See, if you look at the whole world as a hood, right, as a community, the Middle East is the ghetto. You realize that, right? If you look at a whole map, you look at America, Mexico, Canada, South America, Africa, Europe, the Middle East, China, Australia. Where's the ghetto? The ghetto is the Middle East. Now you get it. If you look at the whole world on the map, where's the ghetto? Where's the ghetto? Where's the hood? Where people don't care. It's the Middle East. So I'm going to go over there in the hood, in the ghetto, and I'm going to tell them, nah, you can't have no nuclear weapons. This the hood. That's what it is. That's the hood over there. If you look at how they get down, they don't care. They don't care about America. That's why America hates it, because they can't control the Middle East. These people don't care over there. But you, who are you to define why they don't care? See, that's what you got to start doing. Thinking for yourself. I coined the term intellectual masculinity. Intellectual masculinity is when you stand up and form your own opinion and you think for yourself outside of America's opinion. You use intellectual masculinity. People are masculine physically, but not masculine intellectually, because you submit to America's perspective. Like America is your husband. Like a wife submits to a husband, you submit to America's worldviews about the international community. And as a black man, how can you go with these people's worldviews when they were your enemy? America was they still your enemy. They still your enemy. How you gonna think about what I'm saying? How you gonna base your worldviews on people who was your enemy? They were your enemy. So you gonna let somebody that was your enemy form your whole world view on other countries like Iran, Russia, China. Why do you hate Iran? Why do you hate Russia? Because you chose the worldviews of white Americans. And you a black man that's been discriminated against collectively. Why would you choose the worldviews of somebody that hated you? So I'm gonna go in and educate myself, and you gonna find more, especially from back in the day. Man, these people was lying to you, especially back in the day. They felt like back in the day, they didn't even owe nobody an explanation. They didn't even owe people an explanation, man. That's how bad it was. They didn't give no explanations. They just did what they wanted to do. So you can go back and see all kind of holes in their story about how Russia is their legitimate enemy, because they didn't have anyone to answer to. They didn't care. So you can easily find it, because they didn't even try to disclose it and to where you couldn't figure it out. Really, they didn't care if you figured it out. I don't think so. Back in the day, they did not care. So you got to go back to the drawing board as a non-white person and ask yourself, why do I feel Russia is my enemy? Can you talk about it intelligently? Tell me what wars was started to make Russia your enemy as non-white people. What war started it? And I expect you to explain the details of that war, and to where Russia was liable, and you considered them an enemy based on the details of the war. You got to give me details of politics, details of wars, for where you can say honestly, you forming your own opinion, not white American opinion, because you can go into the details and say, well, I don't agree with America on that. So therefore, I don't feel like Russia is my enemy. That's the white man's enemy. That's white America's enemy. You got to go back to all these countries and see why America made them the enemy. Starting with Russia. You can't tell me why Russia is your enemy. Why Russia is your enemy? So what's the history? I expect you, as the countrymen of America, to tell me within 10 seconds what wars did it. What if you're a real man intellectually, where you're not submitted to another man's worldviews, and you just make people your enemies blindly because America said they were your enemies. I want you to talk about it intelligently and show me the wars that, in the details of those wars, that made Russia your enemy. Communism don't affect America. And I these days I'm almost open to communism, because communism, in a nutshell, this is what I would tell black people, good black Christians. Communism is basically spreading evenly out the money among the rich, the famous, the poor, and everything, where nobody's left behind, and the government makes the decision with all the wealth how to spread it out evenly. See, they ain't gonna tell you that. So you either have a perspective of, okay, it's depending on what walk of life you come from. If you famous, if you're rich, you ain't gonna believe in communism, because that's anti-rich, that's anti-famous. So don't expect your famous community of America to agree with communism, because communism is they gonna take money from them people, from the government gonna come and get money from them, like it should be. In America, you say we should tax the rich. That would be communism. As a system, communism taxed the rich. See, I went and educated myself on all this stuff. Then I was like, well, I don't really disagree with communism. I don't really disagree with communism. No, I don't. Because a lot of people are left behind and they don't care. You barely got food, you barely got this, you barely got that, and communism is going to even out everything. And if that applied to America, can you imagine with all the money, and it was applied, communism was applied to America. This is why they don't want it to happen. Because if communism was applied to America, you wouldn't have nobody on the streets. They would make sure everyone was comfortable. That's what communism is going to do. Democracy, as far as the Americans, is the rich are independent financially. They don't have no responsibility to take care of their community. Although your community is what made you rich. See, why I justify communism is, if I made you rich, why can't you help us a little bit? Because we made you, you can have all the goods, you can be intellectual, you can talk about whatever you want to talk about, but you need people to buy your products. So why can't you give back by system where we make sure you give back? Now we trust you to give back. No, we gonna make sure by communism. I would say America should have progressive communism. How about that? Yes, progressive communism. Progressive communism is not like we got to choose the same exact Siamese style of communism from the past, but we could be progressive adding to it. You know what I mean? But having the nucleus is we spread the wealth of this country to everyone, to where no one's lacking anything. See, the rich is not gonna ever vouch for that. Okay, they not, because now I gotta give a certain amount of money. No matter how much I get, I gotta give a certain amount of money to the poor and to all these people, all these Americans, all these black people. I gotta give money to minorities. And see what I'm saying? The white Americans. That's why I'm telling you, this is why they never agreed with communism. See, they told you it was like a poisonous government. It was a poisonous style of government. Now you understand why. They did not like communism ever. The reason why they never liked communism, because communism in essence feels that the wealth should be given to the government, should make the decisions. Because keep in mind, this government world's view is communist. Their worldview, you can trust it because it's going to be, we spread the wealth evenly. If our country has a certain X amount of money, that money is going to be spread out in common sense. Not where there a rich person that got $1 million walks by a homeless person with 50 cents in his pocket. We go see the black man will easily agree with communism. Yeah, but white America is not. Now you get it. Because the main principle is we take the money and give it to everybody. We use the money for everyone. That's communism basically. Because see, some people you might have put off knowing, you heard about it, but you thought, okay, I'm gonna research communism. I'm gonna research it, but you never did. So I'm gonna sum it up for you. You thought it might have been too big of a subject. You have to read all these books. I know how Americans think. I have to read 1 million books on communism. No, you're not. All you got to do is go to the definition, first of all. Go to the definition of communism. Communism, basically, in essence, man, is the government having the government dictating the lion's share of the wealth of a nation to distribute the finances evenly out to the entire community. How is that wrong? To a black man. That's right. That's good. Because no matter what money you make as white Americans, we gonna get some of it. I go with that. Yeah. I'd rather go with that. Because that covers everybody. And even if you fall off as a rich person, you still pretty decent. If you fall off as a rich person in America, you done. You out here like a homeless person. Now look at that. So for the rich, I challenge you to look at, if you fall off, it's over. You're going to be just like somebody on the streets. You make wrong decisions and it's absolutely over for you. Communism is going to keep you afloat to a minimum where you're not going to be on the streets. See, America got millions on the streets. That's anti-communism. Communism ain't going to ever have all these homeless people on the streets, because its idea is to even out the wealth properly, where at least we start and we build as in common sense to take care of everyone, using the wealth to take care of everyone, which means at least if they don't have an apartment, they're going to have a nice shelter to get off of, to go to. They ain't going to be on the streets. And we can distinguish if, they got strong mental sickness, we can have shelters for them and shelter for normal homeless people, or in homeless shelters for drug addicts. It need to be 3 shelters for normal homeless people, shelters for drug addicts, and shelters for mentally sick people. They put them all together in America. And then you got drug addicts, mentally sick people, and regular homeless people, normal people that just lost a place to stay, like me. I'm just a person that don't have a place to live. Should I be among mentally sick people and drug addicts? No. So America never even cared. That's the problem. They never even cared about distinguishing the shelter system in 3 parts: mental sickness, drug addicts, and normal homeless people. A normal homeless person that just lost a job should not have to go to a shelter with drug addicts and people coming home from Rikers. People just coming home from prison from Rikers. And this person just is a soft person that just lost their job, but they got to go to a shelter over there. That's what we all had to go through, being homeless. That's why we became tougher, stronger, and that's why I be telling people, I done been around dudes from Rikers and everything. Just in case you don't think I have. Going through the shelter system. This is why, now you know why America really is against communism. They're against it because its logic is to spread out the wealth evenly among the community and population. Now you see why people is with it, and you never really thought about it. You see it in Cuba. You should have knew when it was non-white people. Why would they be with that? You thought it was just a style that they were just blind and deceived to choose. You thought they was deceived into choosing this style of government. The truth is, it believes in helping the poor. It believes in evenly distributing the wealth. Rich people don't want communism, because now I can't have individual wealth to where I can get as much as I want, and I won't be responsible for helping anybody if I don't want to. You see what I'm saying? That's white America's perspective and worldview. I'm gonna get all this money and I ain't helping no black people. I ain't helping no Hispanic or Latinos. This is my money. But these same people is the one that bought your goods. That's the logic I have behind progressive communism. We helped you get that money. We went and watched your shows. Let's just say if you was a comedian, we went and watched your shows. We bought your movies. We did all this stuff for you. So we're gonna hold you legally responsible to help the people that helped you. We're not going to depend on you to do it, because you might not do it. So to make sure you do it, we're going to hold you legally responsible to do it. And that's communism. And as bad as time's getting, and you can't even afford nothing yourself, you shouldn't care about, well, I want to be rich and independent one day. You know what you need to worry about? You just getting what you need every day. Which means you really, in America, need a progressive system of communism, basically. Where it just happens. It's not that we do little stuff to make the rich, we tax the rich. Nah, the whole system where we take a portion of their money and we distribute it evenly among the community. That's what has to happen. That's what has to happen, buddy. Because you see it's not working. These people rich as they come. They got all kind of money. Millions and millions and billions even. And look at you. That's not humanity. That's not good humanity. You in America, you barely got food. You barely got meat. You barely got food. You know, you don't even have nothing good to drink. You don't got nothing sweet to drink or nothing. You got people that's rich, and you can say they earned it, but they earned it from you. That's why the logic keeps coming back to, we helped you be rich. You didn't do it on your own. There's no such thing of a made man financially. You can be a made man spiritually, but can you be a made man literally financially? No, you can't, because you depended on the community to get rich. I don't care, even if you're a drug dealer, how you a made man and you had to have people buy your cocaine? So then you gotta respect the fact that the community helped you to get rich. Without drug addicts, what would a drug dealer be? A smart drug dealer realizes, without drug addicts, a drug dealer is nothing. So once again, you also, and that's the perfect example of showing you an illegal person that's selling drugs. He's rich because of drug addicts. You ain't rich by yourself. You ain't rich on your own, buddy. You didn't really make it on your own. You made it because people had a drug habit, buddy. That's how you made it. And you don't feel an obligation to help the people that helped you. See what I'm saying? Good humanity understands communism. Good humanity, people with a good heart, understands it. Okay, well, yeah, I do feel the need to help people that helped me. And I'm going to express that. I'm okay with being made legally to express that. But because this has been a country that's all about white America getting rich, they wouldn't dare invite communism. So that's what I'm trying to show you. All these enemies, even of government and styles of government in countries that are enemies, you need to go back to the drawing board on all of this and educate yourself as a non-white person. Do not take these people's worldviews, because you see what it is. They don't want no communism because these rich people don't want to give none of their money to the people. And all this money, we will all be taken care of. If America practiced progressive communism, we will all be taken care of. But they don't want that. And like they've said before, if you want to hide something from black people, where do you put it? In a book. You never researched communism, did you? That's why you find certain black people agree with communism, because they went and researched it and figured out what it was. You still listen. You took the white man's perspective, and he's against communism because he's greedy, and you just merely joined his perspective, and you don't even know what communism is. It's the same thing with these enemies in Russia. So-called enemies. You don't need why. Tell me intelligently why Russia is the enemy based on what they did to Americans. Tell me what they did to Americans. Tell me what the Chinese did initially. Not now, where it's just back and forth now. Show me what China did to America initially. Look how the people are. You can go anywhere in the world and everybody else has a sense of humanity. You notice that? They act human, they reason normally, like a human being would. That's why it's no surprise that America is doing all this stuff. They act like animals these days. But if you go and look at the logic of anybody else in the country, in all these different countries, they all have one thing in common. They all can be negotiated within human reasoning. All you got to do is use good human reasoning and have a heart, and most of these people will go along with what you want to do. Just like a normal human being. A normal human being gonna go along with what you want to do. But we can't be played with and violated. We're willing to die instead of being violated. That's how you should be. They'll act like you're a thug or you're a rebel and you can't be negotiated with. Not on the Americans' terms, where I don't get nothing. Where they've esteemed many people as slaves, and they just practice white supremacy and American supremacy. Where America is above all other countries, just like they think white people is above all other countries. No, I ain't going along with that. And that's when you become the enemy right there, buddy. That's all I'm saying. You gotta start looking at it like, okay, none of this don't benefit me. None of it don't as a non-white person. The only thing you looking at is these famous black people. That's what's gonna get you. You looking at them to produce your worldview. And these rich black people gonna be quiet. They ain't gonna think about it, man. Let's be real. I don't even expect it because you well taken care of. You ain't gonna talk about no communism. You ain't gonna talk about spreading the wealth out evenly because that challenges what you got. You ain't a black person that's rich. You cannot. They gonna have worldviews similar to the white Americans. You got to come back down to about middle class where they struggling. Middle class is struggling more than anybody because they paying taxes and everything. That's the main thing. Rich people ain't barely doing it. The back of America is on the back of the middle class. See, so middle class should agree with communism. Yes, you should. So that the burden is taken off of you to pay all these taxes. So then you have progressive communism. Couldn't you imagine how Americans could critique communism? We could critique it real good. You got the right minds in the where it works out for everyone. Even if you're rich or whatever, you still get above everybody. I'm not saying you got to be brought down above everybody, but come on, man, let's be reasonable. Let's be reasonable with good humanity. See, good humanity has never been in this system. Good humanity says these people made you rich. Okay, well then by law, legally, we gonna feel like you should give them something back. You have to stand up and think intellectually on your own, which is what I coined the term intellectual masculinity. You're masculine physically, but you submit to another man intellectually. A man shouldn't be submitted to another man intellectually. You in your house, you don't submit to nobody as a man, do you? Intellectually. Intellectually, you stand up in your house and you lay down the rules. You don't submit to nobody else's intellect. Not your children. Your children, you do not submit to your children's intellect, do you? You don't let them run your house, do you? By laws and principles. You are intellectually masculine in your house, but you're not intellectually masculine outside of your house. Well, I don't let these people think for me. I'm gonna try to figure out why is they against Russians and why they against China. It's obvious. They are the enemy. They the competition. So they had to demonize them. You got to remember, these people was racist. They got all kind of other contaminated worldviews. If you racist, don't you think you got contaminated? They could probably have contaminated worldviews in other places. Of course. They got contaminated worldviews. Okay? They was wrong about racism and they're wrong about other things too. You don't believe it, do you? As bad as racism was, they're also wrong about other things morally. Can you believe that? Okay, so there you go. They're not just wrong about racism, they're also wrong about esteeming Russians and Chinese and all these other people as their enemies. They was wrong about that. And they esteemed you as a black person as their enemy, with the history to prove it. And you gonna trust when he tell you Russia the enemy. You gonna trust it when he tell you China is the enemy. You gonna trust it when he tell you North Korea. And if you notice, all them people just trying to stand on their own 2 feet, independent from America. If you notice, that's what all they trying to do. If you notice, all superpowers, all they trying to do is stand independent of America. That's what they trying to do. Without depending on their USD. That's why they started BRICS currency. They're trying to stand independent of American currency. And that's right. Because you go manipulate it in the world. Look how Trump is doing with the tariffs. That's a perfect example of how the Americans manipulate finances to attack countries, to punish countries. The truth is, I'm gonna tell you what the truth is. You just trusted racist white people in America to be good and on every other area except racism. On racism, you know they ain't no good. But you just felt like they was good on everything else. Tell the truth. Tell the truth. Tell the truth. You felt they was good on everything else. And you didn't even investigate it. You know where black America's behind? You thought they was bad on racism. That's the only thing you went after. You didn't go after nothing else. Significantly, as a collective community, all you went after was racism. And my thing is this, finances and money, I don't care if you're racist. You can call me whatever you want, long as I got my money. So what we should have did at some point is stop fighting for racism when these people are racist and start fighting for finances. Start fighting for money. Because they gonna be racist anyway. They still gonna be racist. So my fight would have been shifting from racism once it was at a decent a place. It's been at a decent place for a long time. Black America should have started fighting for finances, because finances is modern day racism. Modern day racism is, I ain't gonna call you a nigga, I'm gonna just take your money. And you ain't gonna be nothing to your woman or to your family ain't even gonna, your family gonna despise you. Even the Bible says, you know, and I'm paraphrasing, when you ain't got no money, even your friends, your family, your comrades don't even want to be around you. That's what the Bible says. If I take your money, listen, your family and friends they ain't gonna want to see you coming, half of them, unless they really love you. The rest of them ain't gonna want to see you coming, buddy. They know you ain't got nothing. Society ain't gonna want to do nothing with you. You can't even you can't even totally please your woman. And you as a black man, you know that's been an ongoing problem. You find love, and then what happens? I'm gonna tell you what happens. I'm gonna tell you exactly what happens. Finances, that's what happened, buddy. If you would have had money, you would have still been with that same woman that you loved. Yeah. She wouldn't have left. She would have made a reason. This is how powerful finances is. Beyond manipulation, she still would have been persuaded through the stability of your life to still want to be with you and still try to work it out. That's going to influence her. That's common sense. Instead of stepping out here, you ain't got nothing. Come on. When men that got money, their women try to work it out way better. You don't know nothing about it. You listen, I'm gonna tell you something, man, that you don't know. When you got money, a woman gonna work it out, buddy. I don't care what you're talking about. That ain't manipulation. She gonna look at the whole life. That's what it is. She gonna look at the lifestyle she living, how good she got it. And here's the other thing. She gonna put her best foot forward every day, buddy. A woman that's staying with a rich man, she get up cooking, take a shower, clean herself up. Your woman walk around, lay around funky, don't even care how she look. You know why? She's not motivated. She's not motivated. Get some money. That woman get up, take a shower. She get herself together. She get up like you know what I'm saying? She get up like a stripper going to a pole. It's playtime. Let me get up and take a shower. That kind of energy. You know what I'm talking about. She getting up and taking a shower. She cooking breakfast. She cooking lunch. She cooking dinner. You ain't got to ask her. You got the bread. No pun intended. You getting breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That's what rich men sit around and eat. They sit around and eat. Listen, man, they ain't going to no restaurant. They eating they wife's food for lunch. Yeah, she cooked me this for lunch. Sitting around talking on the phone. Yeah, I'm eating this. My woman cooked me this. Blah, blah. She ain't going to no she ain't going to no restaurant like you, where your woman don't even cook breakfast, lunch, and dinner. He come home, he got dinner. You have suffered even relationally because you don't have no money. You wouldn't even recognize the same woman that you got if you had money. Her attitude would be different. Everything about her would be different. Because she will put her best foot forward intellectually, mentally, her behavior, everything. She doesn't care because she's worried about finances. So racism is, I'll just take your money and you ain't gonna be nothing to your woman. And I know you're gonna get a woman. As a black man, you're gonna get a woman. But guess what? You ain't got no finances. Nope. You ain't got no finances. See, America understood this. As long as you ain't got no finances. Listen, buddy, let me tell you something. You'll be lucky if you can keep that woman you got. You might keep her for the sex for X amount of time. After she get used to the sex, how you gonna keep her? She gonna make up a bogus reason. She gonna look at society. She gonna look at her insecurity financially, and she gonna leave, thinking she can go get somebody else. That's what's in the back of her mind. She might not tell you that, but then what you think she thinking? She want a man with money. That's what she thinking. So with that being said, most black men, you have struggled all your life. You have struggled all your life keeping a woman because of finances, the average man. That's been the whole problem, I'm telling you. That's been the whole problem. So racism, modern day racism, is what? Taking money from black and non-white people. That's modern day racism. Isn't that oppression? It is oppression. So the smart people start to realize, I'd rather, instead of calling you a nigga, I know I can't really do that no more. As a white man, I can't do it. So guess what I'm gonna do? Because you still got them out there, right? I'm gonna take your finances. You ain't gonna be nothing. So the real pro-black people and the real politicians will put all their fight towards finances, because I know this is where the pressure of racism is applied. Well, if you're nothing all your life and you walk the streets and struggle all your life, I have oppressed you successfully. You ain't look at it that way, did you? So let's break down modern day financial racism. If it's the main two things is this. Three, actually. Cost of living, minimum wage, and a living wage. A living wage is the most important dynamic that you don't get. Minimum wage has been a problem. Cost of living has been manipulated so that black families can't live among white families. So if you work hard as black people, how can I stop you from coming into my neighborhood? I'm gonna manipulate cost of living to where you can't make it to my neighborhood. Cost of living has been the expensive cost of living has been modern day segregation. How can I, because segregation worldview is just we want them over there, and we want to be over here. So it's racism. Racism, segregation is racism. It's a byproduct of racism, right? So how can I keep these people over there? Because if they work hard in America with all these opportunities, they can make it to my neighborhood with hard work. They can make it to my neighborhood where their black children and their black families can be right here, next door to me. So how can I stop that? Whether it be my racism, whether I just don't like them, how can I stop these black people from coming to my neighborhood? Now you're getting down to modern day racism, buddy. You still thinking that racism is terms of slavery and after slavery. Welcome to modern day racism that you've overlooked the whole time. Where white racists, what they wanted to do was keep you out of their neighborhoods. Now that America won't do nothing about racism, they just, they won't really penalize you, so you'll make it to my neighborhood. They won't stop you from getting to my neighborhood. So what I gotta do? I gotta manipulate cost of living. How much it costs to buy this place? How much it costs to buy this apartment so that you can't pay for this apartment in my neighborhood? You can't pay for this building, and you can't pay for that in my neighborhood. You ain't got that money. So that's how I discourage all these black people from getting to my neighborhood. Because hard work, you'll be there, right? And they know black men and black women can work hard. Look at our physiques. We can work hard forever. Most of us, you can work hard like a ox. So how can I stop this hard-working person physically? Even if he ain't smart, he still physically can work hard. He can make it to my neighborhood with physical hard work. How can I stop that? I gotta manipulate the system to where we never complimented physical hard work because we know African Americans can work hard physically. So we never built and molded the workforce in the job force based on hard work, physical hard work, because we know that's their strong suit. But if it was our economy, you or your government, you as black people will reward people for hard work, wouldn't you? Because you know how hard black people can work. They can work harder physically than many other races of people. You know that, right? You realize that? Okay. So if you were fair, wouldn't your work system complement hard work, knowing that these people over here, that's their strong suit? You didn't want to complement the strong suit, which is physical hard work that these people can do. So a black man or a black woman would make a system in America where you can be rewarded for your hard work, as long as you want to work hard. Because we know you can do it as a black man or a black woman. Your physique is built to do it, right? You got these mandingos, these big, strong black dudes, they can make $1 million. Think about it. So how can I stop that? I do not reward you by economy or job occupations by hard work. Similar to slavery. You can work hard as you want, you ain't gonna get nowhere. See that part? See, so I never let people bamboozle me talking about hard work and you can get anywhere. That's a lie. That's a lie in America. Hard work won't let you get nowhere. You gotta have an opportunity. Hard work alone is not gonna get you there. You gotta have an opportunity. Hard work ain't gonna get you there. You can work. I've seen a black dude, and I never forgot this. I seen a black dude work and retire from McDonald's. Hold up. Not as a manager, not as a supervisor, not as a district manager, or some type of a supervisor position or in corporate McDonald's. No, He stayed on ground level, mopping floors and cleaning his whole life. He worked hard. It didn't get him anywhere. What you need to realize is there's slave-like work occupations that you can work hard all your life and you ain't gonna get nowhere. That's slavery. Basically, modern day slavery is you can work hard as you want. You ain't going nowhere. Just like slavery. And white people sit up and laugh at you. You can work hard as you want. You ain't getting nowhere. So let's update your perspective. Hard work will not necessarily guarantee you getting somewhere per se. You're not going to get anywhere from hard work alone. Not hard work alone, buddy. I listen, you can go and do hard work alone anywhere, right? And that's not going to get you nowhere. So stop saying hard work will get you anywhere when I can show you people that retire from McDonald's. Now you see, you need opportunities. That's what's going to get you money. Another opportunity. Okay? And it could be in McDonald's, but it ain't going to be on ground level. It's going to be in corporate McDonald's. But what is that? An opportunity, right? Right. See, in America, they take care of the managers, but they don't take care of the workers, because they consider us slaves. But they got to take care of the managers in any workforce of America, because those are the people that is managing the community, managing the slaves. So real money or money for cost of living only applies in America to managers and up on the average situation. On the average situation, managers are taken care of as you would imagine. They ain't gonna have a manager managing all these people, but they ain't got nowhere to live. We want you to at least have somewhere to live. You're doing a good job. We don't want you going to the streets and you managing people at our job site. No, we gonna at least give you a place to live, because you manage these people. Walmart is the perfect example. I used to work at Walmart. That's how you know I lived here in America. You didn't know that, did you? I used to work at Walmart, buddy. I ain't in the 18th century. I'm playing a position right now. So I got to go back and show you how up to date I am. I used to work at Walmart, right? At Walmart, most people do not make enough money for cost of living. If you work at Walmart as just a mere worker, right, on the floor, let's put it like that, you probably don't make enough to pay for rent in an apartment, nor do you make enough to pay for mortgages, right? So all you're doing is just merely working to satisfy your black family that's just glad that you got an occupation. See, most black families just glad that you're working. That's our attitude. I'm glad you got a job. Well, it's not helping you get out your mom's house, is it? It's not helping you get out your dad's house. It's not helping you get out your family's house. So you're basically living like slaves in one shack, like on the plantation. One house, a whole bunch of black people, and they all working on one field. That's the insinuation. Go live with your mama. You work at Walmart, okay, well then you can't afford to live on your own. So then what's the insinuation? The insinuation is, oh, go live with your parents like you used to. Like black people used to live with their family. Go live with your family and work from your family's house. That's the insinuation with Walmart. Oh, it's not? Okay, well, the insinuation isn't I can pay for my own place to live. You can't work at Walmart and pay for cost of living in a good place to live. No. You can't pay rent on a monthly basis at an average place. for working from Walmart. So then what are you doing? You're playing a slave position where you can't even live on your own. You can't even pay for cost of living. And if you can't pay for cost of living, what are you? A slave. If your job cannot pay for cost of living, then you a slave. You just working for somebody else that's getting rich off of your back, and you can't even get out your mama's house or your family's house. That's modern day slavery. If you working a job which you haven't been paying attention to, but you don't line that job up from day one that it can get me an apartment. See that part? In black culture, we just glad you're working. In black culture, we just glad you're bringing something in. See, that's been our mentality. We ain't put no pressure on finances. Where I don't just work at Walmart, a brand as popular and rich as Walmart, and I can't pay for cost of living. Nah, everybody there should be able to pay for cost of living. You know why they can't? I'm gonna tell you why they can't. Because the CEOs and the leadership of Walmart want all the money. They want all that money. They could easily pay you a living wage. They could easily pay you the money for cost of living. The reason why they ain't paying you because they selfish and they want that money. It's common sense. Did you know when I went to go get my GED, I went back to school to get my GED, right? Do you know that Walmart it's like a mini economy? It makes money comparable to some small countries. A small country, whatever that country was, I kind of forgot. But it was a country that their economy was not as much as Walmart. Literally, just Walmart on its own, not some other business or some other thing or some other business or whatever. Nah, Walmart on its own is an economy bigger than some other small country. So you telling me, with that being said, they can't afford to pay you as a worker on the floor money enough to get cost of living? They can pay you cost of living, but they want that money they could pay you. They thinking about other stuff they can do with that money, just like a greedy person. A greedy person gonna think about other stuff I can do. It's never enough, because remind you, they keeping up with other rich people, so they thinking about other stuff they could buy like these other rich people. That's why they ain't gonna pay. That's why they ain't gonna never give you a minimum a living wage to pay for cost of living. Now, a living wage is the biggest money conversation. You got these rappers, you got these entertainers that will talk about finances, but they not talk about the biggest conversation. They talk about being entrepreneurs, and your auntie cannot be no entrepreneur. Every auntie you got cannot be no entrepreneur. Every uncle you got cannot be no entrepreneur, and you know it. Neither do they want to. Some of them don't want to do the work to be no entrepreneur. They just want to work hard and get money. But this system never complimented you working hard and getting money, because that's pro-black. If I can go in and work hard and use my mandingo strength, I can be rich. Think about it. If I got a fair economy and I apply my mandingo strength, I can be rich, literally. You see how simple that is for you to understand? They never made a system that complimented black people. And you will say it for other reasons. Racism. No, I'm gonna break it down a little further. To your physical strength as a black community, they never made a system that complements that. And it could have been easy, where everybody getting money. Long as I work hard, hey, that's an honest approach and an honest request. As long as you work hard, buddy, you can get money. Ain't nobody got a problem with that. If I work hard, I'm gonna that part. And see, that's basically what you still are told, but it's not true. They tell you work hard, all your dreams will come true. That's a lie. They didn't make a system like that. But they telling you that, right? Right. which is the Jedi mind trick. You listen, you can't work hard. And listen, you work jobs and think you're going to get somewhere because they done bamboozle and brainwash you so much. You work a job but you know you can't get an apartment and you still think you can work hard at that same job and get somewhere. And you ain't going nowhere. You gonna work there until you quit and you gonna go from another job. That's the deception. Before you figure it out, guess what happens? You quit, don't you? You never figure it out. The biggest money conversation is this. Ain't no rapper, ain't Jay-Z, and none of these rappers, even Barack Obama, has never maximized the biggest money conversation. You know what the biggest money conversation for all black people, not rappers and entrepreneurs, because like I told you, your aunt might not want to be no entrepreneur. So then what she do? She has to rely on the work system. That's what she has to do. Your family that ain't rappers, what they gonna do? Your family that don't got talent, what they gonna do? So the biggest money conversation is not for entrepreneurs. That go back to the white perspective, where they can work you and still make money off of you because you fall under their umbrella. Rich black people are just modern day slaves. You work for the white people. A poor man doesn't work for white people. So who work for white people? Not the poor man. He's on the streets. How he a slave and he on the streets? So who is actually literally putting in the work? Rich black people and on down to working class. They paying money for white people to live the way they do. Because you're going to buy all the goods right here in America as a black person. You're going to buy their clothes. You're going to buy their brands. You're going to buy their food. You're going to buy their water. You're going to buy everything they got. So how you ain't they slaves? When you make all that money and you go give it to them. Because it's going to come back to white America. It's going to come back to them. The modern day racism is finances. To segregate you from white community. Because if you work hard enough, you'll just end up in my neighborhood. So how can I stop that from so easily happening? Like a cartoon. Oh, he's in our neighborhood. How you doing? Like a cartoon, you work hard. You know what I mean? In a cartoon fashion, just that quickly. That's what I mean. You there. They can't have that. So how they stop it? How they manipulate it? They manipulated it with minimum wage, cost of living, and a living wage, and you not getting one. This is the conversation. This is the biggest money conversation if you want to know what it is. People talk about talking money all the time, but living wage is a money conversation for everyone, not just entrepreneurs and rappers and stars and people that got talent. The biggest money conversation, therefore, is a living wage. That's the biggest money conversation. Because a living wage is, well, if I go out here and work any job, I'm gonna get enough to get my own apartment. You telling me that ain't enough? They ain't the biggest money conversation? Because the biggest money conversation covers everyone. So, the living wage, a living wage, is something that Jay-Z didn't talk about, Barack Obama didn't talk about, and Al Sharpton isn't talking about. Or Al Sharpton ain't talking nothing about it. And none of your modern day leaders are talking about a living wage politically, in the politics, where it matters. Donald Trump, considered the money man, has never had a real, mature, real man conversation about a living wage. So let's settle it. Besides opinion or biases, what's the biggest money conversation? What's the biggest money conversation? Because if you talk about entrepreneurship, your auntie don't want to be no entrepreneur. She can barely pronounce it. Entrepreneurship. She can barely pronounce it. I'm an entrepreneur. Every Everybody don't want to be an entrepreneur. Everybody don't want to be a rapper. Everybody don't want to be a singer. Everybody don't want to do some talent. So then what do you do with all those people, which makes up most of the people? Do you realize most of the people are outside of vocations, higher education, college education, talents, all kind of skills of being that makes you famous? It's a whole community outside of that. So what happens if we focus on just entrepreneurship? They get left behind. That's what happens. And that's what has happened. Because you esteem, even in the black community, the biggest money conversation is entrepreneurship. Getting your own business. What if some people don't want to run a business? You listen, you know your own people. Do everybody want a business? No. Everybody don't. So what do you do for the everyday person that just want to get money? And that's it. They want to go home, they want to work, go home, and have money. What do you do? What do you say to that person? You need a living wage where you can go and work at a job. And you can make enough at one job, not 5, 10 jobs. You can work one job where there's a living wage where you can pay for cost of living. See the punchline? If you're making a living wage, you can pay for cost of living. Because a living wage is based off enough money for cost of living. See how it all comes together? That's why you have to put pressure, obviously, on a minimum wage, the minimum amount of money a person gets in the state. And that's going to consider the minimum wage, never considered, but it's supposed to consider cost of living. You telling me these jobs that pay $7 is considering cost of living? It was slavery. You should be mad because it was slavery all through the 90s where black people was making $7 an hour. You remember that? You remember them $7 an hour jobs? Oh, come on, no front. If you're from the South, you don't remember, and especially if you're from North Carolina, you done had one job paying $7 an hour. $7 an hour. And guess how far it only went back in the 90s? We only expected to make about $10 an hour. We ain't expect to make no $12, $13, $14, $15. Them numbers were too big. We expected between $7 to $10 an hour on the average everyday basis. That's all we expected. Now, people that had trades and different vocations, they made $12 and better. $12 an hour and better. Everybody else, the average community back in the 90s, in the South where I come from, you was making at best $7 to $10 an hour. That's not enough for your rent, is it? But you didn't care because we come up in the black culture, well, we just glad you got a job. We always been like that, we still like that. If you get a job right now, your whole family gonna celebrate. But guess what? They ain't gonna consider whether it's a living wage or not, because we ain't never considered it because we never got it. So guess what the whole thing in the celebration has been about? When you can't get a living wage and you ain't never got it, then you don't know what you can't celebrate something that you don't know. You can't detest or protest something you don't know you're supposed to have, or you never had. So all you celebrate is just having a job merely, right? But you don't look at, is that job enough for me to pay for rent? And that's the pressure you put on all these employers, because all they doing is taking the lion's share and pocketing the lion's share while you work for money, for peanuts, where you can't even get a living wage. You can't even pay for rent. You can't pay for nothing. You gotta save up. That's what black people doing all the time, saving up. That's why we quick to tell you stacking our money. You know why we're talking about stacking the money? Because you ain't never got enough to make a living wage. You ain't never have enough to pay for rent. You gotta save all this money. That's what we always do.
We saving money all the time. White people don't save no money. They first hit. That's it. They do whatever they want to do. They pay for whatever they want to pay for. So, the biggest money conversation is a living wage. Now, I didn't coin this term just in case you think I did. This is a real term. This is a real thing. See how I gotta bring you into the real world. A living wage is real, right? This is not some little term I made up for making enough money. This is a real term that all these politicians are very well aware of. But they just don't want to put no pressure on the Walmarts of the world and these big corporations that take the lion's share and work you, and you got to live with your mom. This is why they don't want to talk about it. Because it changes the whole landscape of the economy and how it works, where all these corporations are getting the lion's share and they're giving you peanuts. You can't even live on your own. So if a politician come about talking about living wage, he tears all of this down. Where now these employers do not get the lion's share. They paying for other people. They paying these workers, and they can live on their own. You see why they don't talk about it? Biggest Donald Trump's supposed to be is a money man. I ain't never heard him talk about a living wage. I ain't never heard Barack Obama talk about a living wage significantly. Neither did he do anything about it. We should have put all the pressure on a living wage when you understood what was going on with these white people keeping us out of their neighborhoods, and they don't want us to work there. They don't want us to live there, nor even work there sometimes. They don't even want us to work on their side of town. But every once in a while they accept that because they accepted us in slavery. That's how they look at it. They accept us working for them in slavery. That's their logic, isn't it? Well, they had to work for us in slavery, so we'll accept that. That's the only reason they do accept you working for them. That's why I tell you, just because you work for a white person don't mean they accept you. Because they worked us in slavery. Just because they work you don't mean they not racist. Because they worked us in slavery. So, following their ancestors, they will hold the logic, well, we got to work these black people. That don't mean they're not racist. Because that's the main thing they was doing, was working black people. So you think they're going to lose that logic? They think that's the blueprint. The blueprint is to work these black people and don't pay them nothing. That's the punchline. Work these black people and don't pay them nothing like we used to. How can we do it? We manipulate a living wage. We manipulate the minimum wage, which determines if you're able to pay for the cost of living. If you got a low minimum wage, how you gonna pay for a place to live? So that's the manipulation. That's why you gotta look at all three. Cost of living, minimum wage, and a living wage, which is putting the demand on more money to pay for cost of living. In this context. Now, let's break down a living wage. I'm showing you what your country consists of. Why you think you stand for it. This is why, see, I know too much to stand with that. They never cared about you making no money to live where they live. You didn't peep the racism. The racism was no longer, I call you a racial slur. The racism is, I keep you out of my neighborhoods. You ain't gonna have no money. Your woman ain't even gonna want you. Your woman ain't gonna want you when I get done with you. When I get done with you, your woman ain't gonna want you. Half of your women still love you to this day. You still get calls and texts and everything. Why do you think she ain't really with you? She's still talking to you. She's still calling you. Why can't you get her back? Because you don't got enough money to get her back. She don't see no future of money with you. That's what it is. If you had enough money, she would come back running into your arms. I want to come back. Why she ain't coming back? Because you ain't got no money. That's what it is. She ain't gonna tell you that. Pay attention. And black men know what I'm talking about. You are left behind by your woman because you ain't got no money. That's what it is. A living wage, by definition, is enough money to pay for rent, mortgage, food, shelter, which is the rent, basically. And a little bit of entertainment. I added that. You gotta have a little bit of entertainment for well-being. And clothes. Necessities. A living wage is enough money. Go look it up. Go look up the definition. It's enough money. It's a specific thing. It's a certain thing. It's not just, I'm just saying this. See, that's how they get you. When you don't know these terms, you think I'm just saying something. Well, you just need more money. No, man, no. This is a term. This is a thing. A living wage. Because if you ain't got a living wage, guess what? Your finances is dead and your life is dead. If you don't have a living wage, your life is dead and your finances is dead. You see the problem? You didn't put enough pressure on finances. You put pressure on racism. And these people gonna be racist to the day they die, some of them. So then you shift from racism when you're being treated pretty decently and they scared of you now. They scared of you now. Okay, so now you shift from racism because you know it's pretty decent now. Okay, it ain't gonna ever be 100%, so I ain't gonna apply all this pressure. You see what happened? People apply all this pressure to racism. They ain't gonna never love us 100%. That's just forget about it. They not gonna love you no 100%. So what you shooting for? Realistically, what, 70%? Well, that's where you about at. You about at 70% something. So then that's good enough. Keep in mind they halfway scared of us these days. Okay, so then you add all of that together. They halfway scared of us. 70% good as far as racism. Listen, I'm going after the money now. And you never did. You know what you did? You apply all your strength and efforts to racism. That's what you still doing it right now. You see what I mean? While you the same community talking about I'm getting money, we believe in money, you don't know how to go about it. Because like I said, everybody is not going to be no entrepreneur. Everybody ain't going to be no rapper. Everybody ain't going to be no singer or whatever else. So you begin to realize the strong suits of your own community that if we work these mandingos, they can be rich. Now you work a little white guy, he's about 5'7", he can't handle it. He about to pass out. He do the same work you do, he about to pass out, right? Right. So, guess what? You're gonna hate this part. What they do with all the mandingos. They put them on the basketball team. Where all the mandingos at? The black guys, the mandingos. They set them up in basketball and made money off of them like horses. Horses running back and forth. The white man made basketball. Oh, you didn't know that? The white man made football. He made both of them. You call it a black sport, but the white man made it. Oh, you can go look up the history. You can see the exact name of the person. He started sending the basketball game around the YMCAs. I didn't know YMCAs went back that far. And that's how it took off. He started putting a basket through a ball and he sent it around to the YMCA and it took off. You say it's a black sport because we the only ones can play it like we do. Because of what? Once again, what? Because of physical strength and spiritual and athletes' intelligence. There's different types of intelligence, you know. There's musical intelligence. This is proven scientifically. Because some people can't play basketball. But they're not stupid. So why they can't play it then? Because there's athletic where you just know what to do quickly and you think real quickly how how to do a crossover, and the person can't get the ball, and you do a layup, and boom, you won, right? You win the game. A white boy can't do them crossovers. Most of them can't do them crossovers, and they take it through his leg. You can't get it because I took it through my legs. I do a crossover, boom. Do a pump fake, get past you, through the layover, boom. Right? He can't do that. They put our Mandingos in the basketball system. If they, let's just say there was no NBA National Basketball Association organization, you know what would happen? You would have all these Mandingos working at a job somewhere. So what the white man decided to do, well, if I make a sport, oh, you don't think they looked at it like this? I can get all them big guys over there, I can get all of them together. How can I get them all together and make some money off of it? That's 7 hours. How can I get them all together and make some money off of it? You didn't look at it that way, did you? You might have looked at the white man getting the money. You looked at that part, but did you look at the intellectual perspective of how can I put them together? How can I put all these big black dudes together and get some money off of their physical strength? I can use this what we already got going on, basketball. I see a couple big black dudes. Okay, let's be more proactive about this. That part. Let's be more proactive about this and bring them in. You see what I'm saying? That's what they did with all the Mandingos in the country. Why do you think you don't see no tall dude on the streets? Because they being worked by white people. There you go, you got it. You ever notice that you never seen a black man 6'7" on the streets? When I challenge you as a black man that's been through the streets to think about this. Why have you never seen a black man that's 6'7" homeless when we're all subject to the same system? Because he gonna stick out and the white man gonna work him. He gonna work him out. He gonna stick out and he gonna get worked out. He gets put into a white system and milked like an animal. You think it's a coincidence that all the good black men that not only could be working, but they could be our military? So I beat you. I get all your big men. They ain't gonna be in the hood. They ain't gonna be doing no military work for you. That will clobber these white policemen easily. The average policeman is what, about 6'2" at best? At best. Imagine you got these 6'9" and 6'11" dudes as military protection for black people after all the racism. So how you got rid of them? See that part? Instead of having you lingering around the hood as protection, where you could halfway kill a white policeman, you could even take a couple shots and it wouldn't even kill you. So how can we stop this guy? Oh, we'll separate him from his community. He won't be military for his community. He won't be an armed Mandingo for his community. He'll be over here working for us. So then he won't be a threat because we will condition him, and he'll be around a whole bunch of white people and white kids, and and he'll be a family guy. He'll be a family guy for all of us, like a little mascot. Don't you know halfway black players are mascots themselves? Look how they treat us, like you a mascot. They never made a system with all those Mandingos. They didn't go away. Because before we was undiluted by white Americans, we were bigger than that. See, what they don't show you in slavery is Mandingos. With the slavery movies, you notice all the dudes is about 5'11" or 6 foot even, something around there. The reality is, when they was undiluted from Africa, most of them was like 6'3". Big old Mandingo dudes. The women was even about 5'11" to 6'1". The women were huge. The men were huge. They don't show you that in the movies, do they? No, they don't. You know, the Perfect Slave movie will be to show you a whole more than anything, to show you Mandingos, a whole bunch of them. You're gonna be like, dang, these all of them tall. That's right, because they was undiluted by white Americans. How would they not be? And remind you, they took the pick of the litter. So you think they're gonna get some little dudes? They're gonna get the biggest dudes there. Does it add up? They got the biggest dudes. They was up on platforms. Who you think they chose? Mandingos. So the truth in reality is, in slavery, even beyond the pictures they show us, man, they show us pictures and they got some little, to me, I don't think that's the first generation. I think that's like the second. That's like the second or third. When we was malnourished, our children not even eating right, and then they came out little, because you got to feed your children good to make them big. You didn't know that, did you? If you feed your children good, they're going to be bigger. You didn't know that, did you? Everything about them going to be bigger, man. I believe that some men are short and even have small penises because they was not fed good as children. And men that were fed good and taken care of by their black family, and the family loved them and fed them, they got big penises and they kind of good size. It matters. That's a growing child. If you don't give them nothing, how they gonna be big? I'm talking about on the average situation. So it was Mandingos from the beginning. Listen, I am convinced that if I see tall black men now, how it wasn't black men undiluted from Africa then? Where that's at? Where that's at in the projections of slavery? Because they always show us these generations where it's like dudes are like 5'9". A slave about 5'9". Why he gonna get that guy? He's getting the pick of the litter. He gonna get the pick of the litter. They fail to show you all the big African men they got from Africa. That's never been projected properly in film. Mind you, they're not over there to look cute. They're over there to work. They're gonna get the biggest dudes. Think about it. It's common sense. And you can't tell me there wasn't no big dudes over there in Africa. So he gonna get the biggest dudes. Right? So, with that being said, once he came over here, he worked them in the fields. He worked them over here. He gave them an organization to be a part of. I'm not saying stop playing basketball. I'm just saying I believe there's a higher psychology to the whole organization. To work all these big black dudes, and we don't have them in our society to protect us. We don't have them like that. But look how many it is. What if we had them in our community? We would have this big giant community of giants. We don't have it. We got little dudes that we can't protect ourselves. Now you see what I'm talking about. It took away all the guards. They took away all the guards from our community. With these sports and all of that. You don't think somebody looked at it like that? When basketball's been going on with racism simultaneously. And they don't mind working us, remind you. So it don't mean you getting ahead because you doing that. They don't mind working us, man. They was getting the lion's share, especially in the beginning in the NBA. White people was getting the most money. Come on, we know that. It wasn't no black basketball owners and coaches. It was all white people. Okay, they was getting the most money the whole time. Basically, man, white people have been hustling the whole time here. We just caught up. But when you look back, you like, man, they was making so much money. Undisturbed. That's why they like that. They was making so much money, man, while we was confused. Confused and shell-shocked on racism. We was shell-shocked on racism. While they was getting money. They wasn't thinking about racism no more, slavery no more, really. They getting money now. We didn't snap out of it and challenge the system to give us more money. We stayed on racism and putting pressure on racism. They was over it. They was getting money. But see, even if they was not racist, they still didn't let you get money, did they? That's what I'm talking about, buddy. Even if they wasn't quote unquote racist, they didn't want you to live in their neighborhoods, did they? No, they didn't. You know why? Because it was a constant reminder of what they did to you. Why they gonna want the people that they harmed and oppressed right there so they can be reminded? So some people might have not even been racist. They just felt a little uncomfortable with you being there. Because you was a constant reminder of what they did. So think about it. If you constantly reminded of what you did to these people, you want them right next door. It's a psychological problem for white America to have you right next door and they reminded of what they did to you. Think about it. That's the first thing you're gonna think about. I'm talking about back in the day now, starting out back in the day. You ain't gonna want even if you ain't kind of racist, you don't want to think of, you don't want these people next door. So quietly, you're gonna go along with financial segregation, which is low minimum wage, high cost of living. That's financial segregation, which is racism. See how far it goes? So now, what is a living wage? A living wage is enough to pay for, by definition, it's enough to pay for rent, food, and necessities, and a little bit of entertainment. That's the definition. So it's a job, it's one job, not 3, 5, 10, 20 jobs. It's one job. You see what the problem is? You see what a fight is? It's one job. One job. I know it's hard to believe, but white people got one job that pays for their rent. They got it. They got a living wage. Their parents put pressure on them to get a living wage. Make sure you got enough to live on your own. You got to get out of here. White people put pressure on their children to get a living wage, buddy. Our family never did it. We just was celebrated. We celebrated when you got a job. But we never understood a living wage. It was never put properly into politics because it was against you to not have it. So why they gonna put it in politics? Why they gonna put a living wage as an ongoing progressive conversation in politics? That's why they never incorporated it into politics, because it would have changed all the geographics of how we interact with white America. This was financial segregation because they didn't want you among them. So how could I stop mandingos that like these dudes that play basketball? How can I stop him from running back and forth and getting rich off his body like he do in basketball? He could do that out in the streets. Common sense. You ain't gonna look at him and think he can get rich off his body. Of course. Big as he is, he can go get money. Now you get it. They never could do it like that on the average situation. Okay, but we could. So you don't think that if we ran this country, we would look at this person and say, man, you could just get money for how big you is. Just how big you are, you can go get money. This person might say, well, I'm not too much of an entrepreneur. Nah, we ain't talking about being no entrepreneur. We talking about physically big as you are. Why can't you could work circles around these people and get all kind of money? See, that's how we were supposed to see it. That's how America was supposed to see it. But the racist people hid it from us. This perspective that this big guy right here, we can't do it, but he can. See how he ain't gonna work it out for you? Cause you can do it, but he can't. He ain't got no white big dudes on the average like that. So why would he consider it? Why would he consider critiquing the system for you to get money based off your physique? Now we're talking about different lanes of thinking, right? Where you didn't think about, oh, you can't tell me it don't apply. And then the funny thing is he still got money off of you. He still got money off of you. Through sports. Sports is how he got money off of off all the mandingos. Because mandingos ain't only tall, it's physical strength. Through football and all of that. He got money off of us in various different ways, bro. Through the sports. That's what it was. That's how he did it. So then, now you see why they never incorporated the term a living wage beyond the elementary understanding of it. Oh, they'll scratch the surface, but they ain't gonna go analyze like they do on all this other politics stuff. Because it forces all these people to realize, oh, we never gave black people a living wage. We ain't give them no living wage. Not as a collective community. See where we at? That's where we at. So, out of all that Donald Trump is doing, and he's supposed to be the money man, he a perfect example. He ain't never said nothing about a living wage, has he? He never promised a living wage for the community of America, just besides white, black people. For Americans, did he ever promise you a living wage? So what's the most important thing you need? A living wage. You don't need war to be waged. You need a living wage. So what you need, war to be waged or a living wage? Higher minimum wage or war to be waged? Or war to be waged and raged? What you need? You need higher minimum wage or war to be waged, which don't benefit you at all, by the way. Not really, bro. You still in danger with the police and you still in danger. See, that's the difference. You know, you being black, guess what, buddy? They can do all these wars and you still in danger with these racist rednecks and all these racist psychopaths. Because no matter how good racial affairs go, guess what? All it takes is one crazy racist lone wolf to kill you. Okay? Like Sonia Massey. Sonia Massey, it don't matter how good the racial affairs was in America, she got killed in our own house. Did it matter how good things was going in America? It didn't matter, did it? It didn't matter how good things were going. Did it matter? It did not matter, did it? What I want you to realize is it didn't matter. She still died, didn't she? So no matter how good this stuff is and how white people say this is a dated conversation, listen, if it's a dated conversation, why is Sonia Massey dead? How could it be a dated conversation when she died from white crazy people? When she was just saying, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus, which was halfway a joke. For black culture, people know that was a joke. She was joking with him. She wasn't saying that seriously. That doesn't even add up in black culture. You saying, why you backing up? He said, well, I thought you was going to pour this water on me. He said, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus. She's saying, basically, I rebuke your perspective that I would throw this water on you. I rebuke your perspective. What she didn't realize is these dudes didn't have the same reasoning as we do as black people. Because a black person would have found that to be funny. If I back up and you ask me why I'm backed up, and I said because I'm gonna pour you, I thought you might pour that hot water, and you say, oh, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus. I'm gonna laugh because you said basically I wouldn't do that. I ain't gonna think you gonna rebuke me with the water. See, that's white culture. Like this show you the different Catholicism in America. This show you Catholicism versus Christianity. She was talking about Christianity. He thought as a white man in religion of Catholicism, right? Where you pour like in the movies, you pour water on an evil spirit, which is Catholicism. So when she said, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus, a white man thinking, I rebuke thee in the name of Jesus with this water. You get it? That's why we don't have the same type of reasoning. A black cop wouldn't have thought that means I'm going to pour this water on you because I rebuke you. If anything, the rebuke is the weapon, not the water. Oh, it's not? Oh, in spiritual warfare, the rebuke is the weapon. So why would I use the water after I rebuked you? That's black culture. Black culture gonna say, if I rebuke you, that's good enough. Especially if you an armed cop. If I rebuke you, that's good. I ain't gonna put no water in. I rebuked you. In other words, I push back any spirit that's using you against me, right? Why would I think about pouring water on you after I said that? After I said I rebuke you in the name of Jesus, who gonna turn around and think to pour hot water on somebody? Think about that. A normal black person that uses the name of Jesus to rebuke somebody, why am I gonna think about pouring hot water on you after I just said I rebuke you in the name of Jesus? Only a white person that comes from Catholicism is gonna think, well, I rebuke thee with this water. He putting it together that the rebuke is in the name of Jesus, me pouring this water on you. That's how, see, that's higher psychology, seeing her thought process as a black American in black reasoning and white reasoning not understanding black reasoning. That's why we come from two different worlds. No matter what we do, because we got white reasoning and black reasoning. I'm gonna do a whole teaching on this. White reasoning versus black reasoning. They don't reason like we do. They don't reason like we do. Pay attention. They don't reason. Maybe you never even studied the subject of reasoning. And it matters. Oh yeah. It matters because ultimately it decides what people gonna do to you, as in the case of Sonia Massey. It shows you what people will do to you if they don't reason like you. And that can be applied to politics, money, everything else. If they don't reason like you do, you don't have no money. White people can sit here and see you don't have no money and reason like it's all good. That part. Is it all good for you? Because you got different reasoning. You know why? Because you got a different experience in America. You got a different experience. What kind of experience they got? What kind of experience do America got? Here in America, these white Americans. They got a whole different lifestyle than you. So they gonna reason differently. They not gonna ever reason like you and sit down and reason like you do, because your experience is different here. So your reasoning is gonna be based on your experience. And in your culture, which will be based on what you've been through in your history, right? That's all gonna affect your reasoning. So how they gonna reason like you? And that's why they don't. You got two different type of reasonings. That's what the problem is. And see, a white man that's been had money and and all of that, he go off and cause wars and do other stuff, while they're not getting a living wage for you. They're waging war, right? They're waging war, but they're not getting you a living wage. So to wage war, you need to fight for a living wage. White America ain't worried about it because they're getting money. So it's not going to be an American effort. Now, don't you see? White America basically floats this ship, so that means they're going to leave out black reasoning and black purposes. They ain't worried about it. They getting money. They ain't worried about it. White America is afloat. So why would they worry about money and things like that? They doing good. Whether the minimum wage is whatever it is, cost of living, whatever it is, they still going. Who else getting the money? Them. They the only one getting it. So they're gonna be able to pay for all of it anyway. They're gonna be able to pay for it. How they gonna be able to pay for it? They the biggest here. They getting the most money here. How they gonna be able to pay for nothing? You gonna be the one that's not able to pay for it. So then you have to fight for a living wage. That's the biggest money conversation. And a living wage, as far as paying for your rent, with a normal job, you should be able to pay for your rent in 2 pay periods, if not 1. You should be able to pay for your rent in 2 pay periods, not 5 pay periods. You shouldn't be. We have to save money. You should be. A living wage is. Let me define it in the context of paying for your rent. A living wage is I can pay for my rent in 2 pay periods. That's for sure. I can pay for in 2 pay periods. I can pay for my rent. Not 3, 4, 5 pay periods. 2 pay periods is a job that I would signify as a living wage job. If you go to 3 and 4 and 5, that's just like everybody else, right or wrong. If I'm going to 3 and 4 and 5 pay periods to pay my rent, that's just what everybody else is doing. That ain't no living wage. A living wage is I can pay for my rent in 2 pay periods max. Most living wage, I can pay for it in 1 pay period. You should be able to pay for your rent in 1 pay period. See what I'm saying? And if you can't pay for your rent in 1 pay period, you should be able to pay for it in 2 pay periods max. And see how much better that is? I know if I get 2 pay periods, I'm gonna pay. This rent is paid. That's half the month. Half the month, my rent paid. The first half of the month, my rent paid. Now everything else, I can save, I can do other stuff, but my rent is paid in the first half of the month. That's most white Americans. They pay for their rent in the first half of the month. What you doing? Barely. 3 pay periods. About that's it right there, that part. About 3 pay periods to 4 pay periods. You gotta tell your landlord when the money coming in. That's it right there, that's 7 hours. You gotta tell him when he gonna get it all, don't you? Which in some cases is 3 to 4 pay periods. See how you on the other side. They get they rent the first or second pay period. You get your rent the 3rd or the 4th pay period. See that part? That's 2 different worlds. That's why everything is not okay, buddy. It's not okay. If you live in here and you live the black experience, it's not okay. You got to stop latching on the white experience like that's what you live. You don't live that. So why you vouching for it and defend it and fight for it? You don't live no part of it. And you're so conditioned you don't think you should or have to or you don't deserve it or maybe you just think that's the way it is. But they're living it. They're living this way. They're getting a living wage all the time. 1 pay period, 2 pay periods. They paying for rent, and it's done. Look at that. More times than not, it's 1 pay period, man. 1 paycheck, and boom, the rent's paid, buddy, right off the top. And that's what most people gonna do. Most responsible people. My rent is paid off the top, buddy. With some left over. Obviously. Oh, it's gonna be some left. It ain't gonna be pension to the rent. Barely making it. No, it's gonna be paying the rent, and guess what? Some left over. So then you gotta challenge everybody. You gotta rise up like King Kong and rage and challenge everybody and say, why in the world? none of these politicians, even Barack Obama, he didn't vouch for no living wage. Nobody did. Al Sharpton and none of these people did. Jesse Jackson didn't even do it. Nobody did it. And if you find all these pro-black leaders, all they talking about is racism. That's all they talk about, man. It ain't gonna stop. You can't get rid of all these racist black white people from hating you. It ain't gonna ever stop. That's coming from me being from North Carolina. Listen, man, you ain't gonna ever stop all these racist white people raising white kids to be racist. Listen, they put it in them on purpose. They tell them on purpose that listen, they want you to be raised right, like you understand where you at from a kid. They start raising their kids racist from teenage years. As soon as they get about 13, 14, they start having these conversations. You know what they bird and bees conversation is? Racism. Bird and the bees for a racist is racism. You gonna install that in your kids? Yeah, let's sit down. I got a bird and bees talk for you. Well, you know those people over there. That's how they gonna put it. That's not your people. We built this country. See, they gonna put that in their kids. So if you think racism is the old school white people, why? Listen, don't be double one dimensional minded. They gonna install it into the next generation. They gonna raise their kids like that. And it goes from generation to generation to generation. If not, anything you get from this present time, from this message, is that you should not stand with these people that put you through all of this and never gave you a living wage. They never gave you a living wage. They don't care about it now. So why would they have your alliance and allegiance? You gotta stop acting like this is a football team, some clown stuff. These people never stood with you. That's what I'm saying. They never vouch you for a living wage. That's my whole argument against the Americans. And it's still going on. And now white Americans are dealing with it. They now finally are coming on our side to struggling, real struggling. Here's the punchline: while you're working, up until now, they worked and they got money. Oh yeah, they live great. Now they're starting to feel the black experience, aren't they? Better to say, now they're able to relate to the black experience in America, aren't they? Where we can work as much as we want and we ain't making it. Oh, welcome to the club, buddy. We've been like that the whole time, as a matter of fact. Even now. It's been like that. Welcome to the club, buddy. See, and you're going to say, well, how we figure it out? A living wage. You put pressure on all politicians and all people to produce a living wage, and this means you put full pressure into it pops until these people produce a living wage, until you stop working at Walmart. You got to do this. You got to boycott Walmart wages, work wages. I worked at Walmart. That wasn't enough money for me to live on my own. I worked at Walmart. That's how you know I'm American. I worked at Kmart. I worked at Walmart and Kmart. That's how you know I'm American. They just played in my face, and you know they did. Okay, so but I lived here just like you did. Them jobs didn't have no significant money from day one where I felt like I could really do something with that money. No. And you know that with your jobs as well, don't you? Okay, so a living wage, what is it? By definition, it's enough money. This is why you need to know it. It's enough money to pay for your rent in 1 to 2 pay periods. See how good that is? That's what white America been experiencing the whole time. It's enough money with a minimum wage to pay for your rent in 1 or 2 pay periods. And to pay for food and other expenses that come up. You'll be able to do it. And to pay for necessities and a little bit of entertainment. That's a living wage. White people been getting a living wage up until now. Now it's getting bad. You've been like this. You ain't say nothing about it, did you? Because you ain't know no better. White people crying, ain't they? They crying. Listen, but if you look at it, it's the same thing we've been going through. What's the difference, really? Oh, maybe inflation. A little bit, yeah. Inflation probably is the only difference. A little more inflation on the goods. The food is a little more expensive. Everything is a little more expensive. But other than that, the struggle has always been there, hasn't it? For you. That's why you know it's trouble, because white America now is starting to feel the bite. They see how it is. They're able to relate to a black experience in America, where you can work as hard as you want and it's just not good enough. It's not gonna be enough to get you out your mom's house. It's not gonna be enough. So then what? You're just working like a slave for somebody else that's getting the lion's share. They're getting whatever they need in their house for their house, while you can't even get out your mom's house. That's what I want you to look at. And why Donald Trump, Barack Obama, you can go back to the Clintons, you can give me any era of politics, and nobody stressed enough about the living wage. You know how I know? Because it will be present in your present politics right now. They'll be talking about it right now. Are they talking about it? Are they talking about a living wage right now? Are they talking about it? They're not, are they? That's what I'm telling you. They're not talking about it. They're not talking about a living wage, are they? Okay, so then what is the objective? You see, you know what it is? Slavery. Meaning someone, because of their greed, has to work these jobs. And I don't feel that you deserve enough money to live on your own. They esteemed you as insignificant. Well, yeah, basically. You ain't got enough money to live on your own. They haven't considered that you should have enough money to live on your own if you work hard. If you work a day's wage. If you work a day, you should get a day's wage, right? And a day's wage should lead up to a living wage, now shouldn't it? Otherwise, what is the purpose? What is the point? Next thing. There are not enough jobs for every American to be employed at one time. There are not enough jobs for all the Americans to be employed at one time. So, that means every American citizen cannot be employed at one time. Did you know that? While they're talking about adding jobs, this is the major problems. This is the next major problem. There are not enough jobs for every person. So even if everybody was not lazy, as you might put it, or whatever else you might think they are, even if they wanted to work, it's not enough jobs for every American citizen. Did you know that? There's not enough. So even though it might look like it's enough, it's not. Every person could not work. Especially when many of them do not have higher education, which means they will all have to go, a bulk of them will have to go after ground level jobs. It's not enough ground level jobs for all these people. So when you see corporate America, you see all these places, they don't have enough education to go get a job there. So put it all together. All these people that's on ground level, they would swamp the whole ground level entry job level, where they would get random jobs at fast food, etc., etc. Let's just say if they occupied that. It's too many people with low education or no education that can only employ jobs like that. So how can all of them go there when there's more people with less education? You see, that's one of the problems too. That most ground level Americans would swamp entry level jobs and low level jobs, ground level jobs. That's how I put it. Ground level jobs would be the only jobs that they can qualify for, and it's not enough ground level jobs for all the American citizens that's on that level. It's not enough jobs for them on ground level. You see what I'm saying? So they can walk past all these big old huge buildings, but they can't get no jobs there. They can't even apply there in most cases, not directly. They'll tell them these days, you need to go to a website. And you know that means about 50 to 100 to 200 to 300 people are applying for the same position, which means they're going to get the best candidate. And you know that might not be you. The bottom line is they do not have enough jobs for every American citizen. And that's something Donald Trump ain't talking about either. Is he talking about applying, giving jobs to every person? No, not giving money, handouts. Making enough jobs for every American citizen, which most the population for America is about roughly 500 million, which is 400 million to about 500 million people here, something like that. So you know what that means? You need at least about you need like 12 billion jobs. Yeah, because half of it is double it is 800 million, right? And if you put 400 more million on that, that's gonna go into 12 billion, right? So the reason why I say 12 billion jobs is because that's enough jobs for you to have 3 options as an American. You should at least have about 3 options. As super as this economy is, they still don't have enough jobs for everybody. That's what I want you to look at. It's the finances and the projection of finances manipulated towards the rich and what they want to do, and they'll say this is the greatest economy in the world. How we know it's not the greatest economy in the world? Because once you got the money, you ain't know what to do with it, and then you don't have enough jobs for all these people to be employed. How can you employ all these people? You can't. So what they waiting to do? What are they waiting for? So no matter how many people apply for a job, whether it's on the internet, whether it's on the streets, whether you walk into a place, it's still not enough jobs for everybody to go to the workforce at one time, which means it's employment musical chairs, which means when somebody get fired, then you can come sit down at the same job, like musical chairs. Musical chairs in the sense that we all go around this one position. And then when you get fired, we'll sit down. Everybody remember musical chairs, right? Okay, so when you sit down, when you get fired, we can sit down. It's not all of us can be employed at the same time. See, that's the biggest Jedi mind trick with all this talking about jobs and everything and everybody working. Well, I mean, to me, you couldn't even talk about lazy people in the same context if you realized everybody couldn't work anyway. If you realize everybody couldn't work and they're not applying enough jobs for every American citizen, then how can you talk about people being lazy or people not applying themselves or people living off the system when all of them couldn't work, which means they gonna be basically living off the system whether you like it or not. They're destined to live off the system when everybody cannot work at one time. At one time meaning all 400 million Americans working at one time. You can't do that in America. They basically do not have 400 million to 500 million jobs for Americans. So then my question to you is, until that happens, what do America do? Sit around, wait for it? What do they do meanwhile, when there has never been even an objective for these people to give enough jobs for every American citizen? They ain't even made it their objective. And how I look at it, this is supposed to be the greatest country in the world. Why wasn't it their objective to employ all American citizens? It hasn't been, from local level to political local level to all the way to the White House. It has never been their overall objective, primary objective, to have enough jobs for every American citizen. So if they wanted to work, they could. If they wanted to. Even if everybody wanted to work, it's not enough jobs. You didn't know that, did you? See, just admit it. You didn't think about it. They Jedi mind tricked you. You did not even realize that if everybody wanted to work, they couldn't. So then what? What are we really doing? I'm gonna tell you what we're doing. What we always been doing. We're taking the pick of the litter, and we really don't care about nobody else in this country. That's all they're concerned with, is the pick of the litter. People who would take the initiative to go work. But we ain't gonna think, okay, well, for those who halfway don't want to work or halfway not working, we still gonna apply. We gonna still have enough jobs for every American citizen. That's our standard. But instead of that, we'll just pick the pick of the litter. That's what America's all about, the pick of the litter. I picked that little puppy. And you leave the rest of the puppies behind. You pick the pick of the litter, the one that you think is the cutest, the one that you think might be the strongest or whatever, the most attentive, whatever you see in the puppy, you take that one and you leave the rest of them behind. That's the American way. You can look at it in the music business. It's people with plenty of talent, but they're going to pick the pick of the litter. It's plenty of people with plenty of athletic talent. They're going to pick the pick of the litter. So why wouldn't you think they would apply it to, with all these different dynamics I just showed you? The music business, show business, everything, sports, it's applied to everything. The pick of the litter is applied to all of that. They'll tell you everybody can't do this, right? Same thing. They applied that to the workforce, which they shouldn't have. We'll just take the pick of the litter. And if you read between the lines with what they insinuate, the employer insinuate, well, I want the person that takes the initiative. I want the person that works. I want the person that, you see what I'm saying? Who would that be? Most likely the pick of the litter, right? But we ain't gonna have a worldview besides the pick of the litter or the person that takes the initiative to work to think that we, by standard, at least want to have enough jobs for every American citizen, just in case, just for when they're ready to work. That's not their standard. Obviously, their standard is, well, the pick of the litter gonna come out here and get a job. Those who apply themselves gonna get a job. But so we ain't gonna worry about all these other people left behind. We ain't even gonna think if it's enough jobs for all of them, because really we just want the pick of the litter, because they're gonna be the full package anyway. From initiating applying for the job to having the goods as a character, having good character, etc., work ethic, everything. That person that applies themselves like that, that's who we want. We don't really want everybody here. So see how it crept into even the workforce? Employers wouldn't even halfway hire all of America. You know why? Because you're going to go with a certain personality, certain traits, not just working everybody. So you might say, even if we did have enough jobs for everybody, then you still got to go through another problem. Employers that don't want to hire these people. Oh, that's the other problem. The other problem is these employers that don't want to hire everybody. Maybe because you don't fit in at this job. Maybe you got a beard and you want to be a waiter and you're like over 50 years old and you just really want to work and labor. See, back in different times, they just labored everybody. In different countries, everybody just labored. That's that. They didn't have, see, in America, it's a different dynamic where in the workforce, you have to fit into certain social aspects of the job work site. So for example, if you go into a pizza restaurant and there's like these bubbly little 20-year-old girls in there, and you're a 50-year-old man, and you just go into this job not even knowing that it's just 20-year-old bubbly little girls, you think they gonna hire you as a waiter, and you the only man there, bearded and everything, just coming fresh off the streets? Do you think they gonna just give you that opportunity? No, they not gonna just give you that opportunity. So that might be the only job in your vicinity left. And they might have an opening, but they gonna give it to somebody who fit into their little club. So then you got that aspect that America's not aware of. People that won't hire just a human body because that person applied. They might look and see that you don't really fit in with these people here. You don't really fit in. Maybe it's your personality. They sizing you up like, nah, she won't fit in. Maybe it's beyond you being the bearded guy. Maybe you're a little up in age and these are young, free girls and you're just kind of like more on the older side. Let's put it like that. You think they're going to hire you at that pizza shop? No, they not. They not going to hire you. They not going to hire you. Okay, so then, even if they had job openings, the next step is you got to worry about these employers looking at other aspects of the job that you might not fit into, but you can physically do the job. But we want all 20-year-old bubbly little girls. We don't care if you need the opportunity for work. We wanted to make it look a certain way. You gotta worry about employers that want their job to look a certain way. And you know I'm right. So even if you applied yourself, some of these jobs is not going to hire you because you don't fit into how they want it to look. You go to other countries, they just hire you because you need work. You come here, it's like Disney World. Well, you don't look like Mickey Mouse with Minnie Mouse. Or you don't look like Winnie the Pooh with Piglet. You're not Piglet. If you were Piglet, we'll hire. If you were Piglet, we'll hire you. You don't compliment Winnie the Pooh by looking like Piglet. You don't compliment Winnie the Pooh by looking like Piglet. You forget about this part. That beyond even if it was enough jobs, what about these corny employers and some people that just don't want you at the job because you might get the girls. You might be a good looking guy and it's all these girls that you don't even know about because you ain't seen them yet. And what about these employers that will keep you out the job because he like a washed up Romeo. He want all these young girls and you a threat. He already see you a threat. You think he gonna hire you? I'm talking about an American now. This is the world views and the perspectives of these Americans that you gotta deal with. You think as far as work, see, the government is not addressing these dynamics. You might be considered a guy that, oh, he can have sex with all these girls. Good looking as he is, this is what the employer that's gonna hire you thinking. So guess what? He ain't gonna give you the job, buddy. Guess what he gonna do? He gonna hire another woman because he has made a den of prey of women, young women he can prey on. Oh, it's managers like that, buddy. They got a whole den of prey, and you're listen. You mess up the whole charm of the situation by coming in there. You know you gonna snap the charm off the whole situation. They ain't even gonna be looking at him. Let's say you that caliber dude, you look that good. He ain't gonna hire you. Oh, he might tell you something like, "Oh, you just overemployed. You're overqualified." He gonna tell you that. That ain't what it is. If you need to, you decide. Hey, besides being overqualified, you need the job, don't you? Okay, so you determined that you need the job, didn't you? Okay, so why talk about overqualified? Because the bottom line is, in all your endeavors or your workings or trying to get a job, you couldn't get what you qualified for, right? So that's why I'm here. That's why I'm here. That whole overqualified perspective got to go. I already determined what I'm qualified for, obviously. But I'm here, right? Okay, yeah. Why are you trying to figure that out for me? That's for me to figure out. By the time I come here, I want to work here. You don't figure out for me what I'm qualified for. Because it may, that's simple-minded. That's simple-minded. I might have already figured out I can't get the job that I'm qualified for, so I'm going to work this. See, you didn't think I was aware of what was going on. See that part? You thought I was just sitting around, didn't know what the real world consists of. That's why nobody's anxious to work. You know another reason? The social aspect of the job. Some of these employers are so nasty and filthy, even sexually. People don't even want to work at these jobs. You got to deal with the social aspect of the job where your co-workers are trying to plot on you and get your job for whatever reason. Maybe you don't fit in with them. Maybe you once again, maybe you're a threat to somebody they like. Maybe you're a threat to them getting somebody they like. And so they gun for you. This is co-workers. They gun for you to get fired. Oh, Americans ain't dealing with that. They dealing with it right now, buddy. People, all these schemes and plots on the job site to get this person fired. 2 and 3 people plotting on them, trying to sabotage their workload and sabotage their work performance to where it looks like they can't work. But they sabotaged it to look that way. Put them in a situation where they knew it would be difficult, but it looks like they can't work. It looked like they're struggling more than they really is, right? More than they really are. You got to deal with people trying to get you kicked out the job, get you fired. You got to deal with a manager that might not like you from day one. And you're just there to work. See, how I was bred, you go into a job not to make no friends. You don't go to no job to make no friends. You go into a job to work your job, put your head down, and get your job done and get your money and leave. This is a long-term job. Why I want to mess it up by becoming friends with somebody? And the more friends you make, you ain't gonna be able to keep all them friends. So then, if you fall out with them on the job, you ain't gonna want to be there. And once again, you don't know how they gonna sabotage the situation. To where now you don't fell out with somebody, and now they trying to get you fired. So why make friends? But here's the damn if you do, damn if you don't part. If you don't make friends, guess what? You get considered an outsider. They consider you an outsider. And guess what? That means you're in danger of losing your job. If you don't hang out with everybody, because most Americans that got their head on right, they ain't gonna hang out with everybody. You eat your lunch in your car, right? You are on the side of the building. Right? Well, you just like being alone on your phone. If you don't click up with everybody, and there happen to be a couple workhorses in that clique, listen, buddy, they gonna go with the workhorses. And once they're influenced against you, you might as well say you already on your way out that job, buddy. If you don't join certain cliques at a job, you could be pushed out the job from day one. Because they gonna look at it like he don't fit in to our cliques. And there's these big cliques at each job. Yes, it is. And it's all the way up the corporate ladder. And if you don't fit if you don't fit in these cliques, then guess what, buddy? You might as well say they gonna wait for you to make a mistake and just be normal, a human, and they ain't gonna give you no mercy. That's what they gonna do. They gonna wait for human error and give you no mercy. Now, if you was in the clique, they gonna say, well, everybody make those mistakes, right? But if you ain't in the clique, guess what's gonna happen? They gonna say they gonna fire you because of that. They gonna try to get you fired because of it. But they make the same mistakes. That's what the government don't realize that's going on in America. The social aspect of the job, where people struggling where you gotta halfway be social to keep your job. Which the old school is, listen, I'm here to work. I'm here to work. I'm not here to make friends. I'm not here to know nobody. If I do, I'm gonna take it slow. I got a lot of years to be here with you. So why I'm gonna just jump on you like a happy dog? I'm gonna jump on this job like a happy dog. I'm gonna jump on this work position like a happy dog and get this work done. But I'm not jumping on you like a happy dog. I got plenty. You would think people with high IQ would know better. But a lot of people don't. At these ground level jobs, they don't have high IQ. Or they're not educated. They don't understand life. They're not educated about life. So they might not think, well, I'm gonna get to know this person over time. I ain't gonna try to jump on this person and pounce on this person and put pressure on this person to get to open up to me. He gonna be here for years if everything works out. So why am I trying to jump on you in the first 3 months? I'm gonna naturally try to get to know you over time, here and there. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna let you dig in and show people what you can do, show the employers, and earn your respect. That's the first thing a new employer is trying to do, is earn their respect, right? So why am I trying to be friends with you and get all in the way? Nah, I'm gonna get out the way and let you earn your respect. But that's not how it goes, is it? From day one, I promise you, man, it's like being on a field trip. Everybody trying to be your friend. Hey, how you doing? You want to hang out? Come out here with us. We hang over here. You ain't even ready for all that. That's real. You a grown man and you ain't even ready for all that. Nah, I don't feel that. Nah, you want to kind of chill by yourself a little bit. Think about what you're doing. Think about what you got to do. But you get dragged. How many times you done got dragged into the cliques? As soon as you got there, now you hanging out with people you don't like. They clowns to you. They lames to you. But you hanging out with people, they ain't even your style to do that. See, they gotta leave room for different type of personalities, but they don't. If you're not this kind of friendly personality where you kind of hang out and click up with everybody, they don't really want you there, man. You can't kind of be a lone wolf at a job in America. No, you can't. You gotta be smiling in everybody's face and everything. I'm talking about the co-workers. You might smile at the customers, but the co-workers, man, they could be your worst enemy, man. I think this part needs to be understood. Like, I'm not trying to really get to know nobody here, because that could go bad. Next thing you know, we talking and we arguing and falling out with each other. Now my situation is bad as far as my job goes. You know what I'm saying? So, even the employer, the manager can be guilty of this. Hanging out with all the cliques and everything. And if you don't fit in with that, you on the outside. You're perceived in a negative way. And how many people that's good workers, you've been perceived in a negative way? You go on the job and you're just working. For crying out loud. That's why you're there. You're not there for friends. And guess what? How is it perceived? Like you're weird, you're strange, and nothing's wrong with you. You just got a smart perspective that this is my bread and butter for the moment. And you think about money, right? And you just come in there to work and get out. That's all you're doing. You ain't trying to make no friends. Some people don't even have no social life, man. When they working, you ain't required to have no social life, man. That's what I'm saying. You just there you there to work. That's it. But I can show you how even employers do not treat it this way, and we know that. See, these are the aspects of life that people don't talk about here in America. where you got these difficult managers that make it almost unbearable, while your family think you should be able to take it and work the job. But they don't know how unbearable it really is. They don't know how bad it is. So old school gonna tell you, well, you should be able to handle that. You should be able to, they gonna insinuate you should be able to go ahead and go to that job. You should be able to go ahead and do that. It's a whole different world, man, where all these cliques and stuff at the job, it's almost unbearable. Right now, somebody on the job ready to quit because of cliques, and I'm definitely confident in that. There's somebody in America right now ready to quit their job because of the cliques at the job. That's what I'm talking about. And you can't tell me I ain't right. You go to any job and you settle in, it's the cliques. You're gonna see the cliques, and it's politics in the job among those cliques and employees. The co-workers got all kind of politics. If you don't pay attention to it, they gonna push you out. So you almost gotta keep your wits about you, like in the streets, to pay attention if somebody plotting on your job or whatever, trying to sabotage your position. You gotta pay attention to that. Oh yeah, that person throwing shade, that person trying to make it look like I ain't working. They'll try to make it look like you ain't working. That's the main thing. That's the main thing. They'll try to make it look like you tripping or something. Sabotage your position. And you gotta keep your wits about you and pay attention. See, so that's like the real stuff that's going on, bro. Stuff that I'm smart enough to realize. You know what I'm saying? And the main thing is, this is the punchline. A lot of people are not lazy. They burnt out on the people at the job. That whole aspect, whether it be managers or employees, co-workers, they burnt out on this social aspect of the job, interacting with these people. Most people, man, if you put them in a building by themselves and they made like $20 an hour, you telling me they gonna turn the job down? No. But then when you incorporate all these people that you got to deal with, that's what turn you off. Because you basically got a relationship with these people. You basically do. You got a relationship with these people. You're going to see them every day. 5 days a week usually. That's a relationship you got. If you could work at a building by yourself, making your money, you telling me you ain't gonna do it? You telling me you ain't gonna do it? Of course you're gonna do it. If you can go to a building and clock in, clock out, and make bread, and ain't nobody there, for whatever reason, you ain't gonna do that? Anybody would do it. Cause you left by yourself. You ain't gonna feel uncomfortable. You ain't gonna have no politics around at the job. You gonna feel good. You gonna be by yourself. Most people would do it. Even me, right now, if I could work a job, third shift where I can clock in, clock out, ain't nobody there, and I'm making bread, why not? You know what discouraged people in America from working? The social aspect of the job, all the way up to the manager and beyond. Above his head too. It could be somebody else. Above the manager's head. That you just, for whatever reason, y'all don't rub each other the right way. And you're in danger of losing your job. You're in danger of losing it. You just see certain people you don't like. But maybe in your case, it's for legitimate reasons that you don't like this person. You got to deal with all kind of stuff, man. That's what I'm saying, man. So that's something to think about. Main thing I said, the biggest money conversation in America is a living wage. You can go look it up. Go look up the definition of a living wage.